Hello Pokemon trainers and welcome back to the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League. We are here with the final week for Phase 1 of East Asia and it's going to be a really exciting play day today trainers because we're going to find out what the seedings are going to be for East Asia and essentially who might end up being the second seed because up until this point, I think High Five, they have confirmed their spot as first seed. We will take a look at the brackets a little bit later on, but as you saw on the screen, my name is Danielle and of course joining me is the wonderful Contra. Welcome to the broadcast, Contra. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, and it's always going to be an exciting run together alongside with you, Danley, where we've already witnessed the journey of all these respective teams, and they are still vying for their perfect opportunity to get their golden ticket to head into the Asia Champions League Grand Finals to meet alongside with other respective regions. So far, of course, like you mentioned, High Five's been looking great, but if you want to find out even more about stats and figures and even more about the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League, head over onto this website to basically refer to all the types of info that you want to know, and perhaps you could even basically learn a couple of things from our professional players.
Yeah, and it's not just East Asia. We've got data here for Southeast Asia. We've also got India as well. So make sure you bookmark this website. It's going to be your Bible to the Asia Champions League. But of course, for today, it's going to be the focus on East Asia. Essentially, we're going to be closing the chapter for Phase 1 of the competition contract because after this, next week, we're going into Phase 2, which is where we find out who's going to be going to Malaysia for the LAN final. Now, of course, we kind of have one team that's already flying to Malaysia. We're going to talk about that team a little bit later on. But this week, it's going to be a really exciting one. But before we jump into all the competition, we do have to make a quick mention of our amazing sponsors to make this competition happen.
That's right. And with that, Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League East Asia League, is proudly sponsored by Meiji Almond Chocolate and You Treasure, and this year marks the 60th anniversary of the launch of Meiji Almond Chocolate. Only carefully selected beans are slowly roasted to create an aromatic flavor, and the chocolate that wraps around the almonds is high-quality milk chocolate that only Meiji can produce. It has a mild taste that enhances the savory flavor of the nuts, and we hope that you enjoy it. And You Treasure is a jewelry company that was established to shape out the light of its fans and to provide them with joy. They offer everything from fashion jewelry such as Pokemon to bridal jewelry. So if you're ever in Japan, please consider to pay a visit to You Treasure store located in Tokyo.
Thank you so much, Contra. Now we are going to go back to the screen as we are going to have a quick look here at Meiji Almond Chocolate because we actually have it on the desk here right now. We've had this last week, and ladies and gentlemen, it really does have the golden ratio of chocolate. I've had a lot of nut chocolates in my life, but I've never had one this good. So you've got the chocolate, the box, it's great, it's a good size. And I think in a lot of cases, like especially where we're from, we don't get a lot when you have these little tiny boxes. But with Meiji, there's so many chocolates in here. It's a good size. I don't know if you guys can see it, if we're gonna like zoom in or anything.
I have one on my hand as well.
Yeah. They're great.
It's probably the shape of my eye, and you can also tell that it has that golden ratio on top of it where usually when you eat other milk chocolate with all these nuts, you only get like too little of the nut or even the chocolate. So I felt like in each respective bite of the Meiji Almond Chocolate,
see it on the camera
you just get
here.
everything in hand.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pop one for myself too, if you don't mind. So
Look, you deserve it. So I've had half because the chocolate's really good. I do recommend Meiji as a brand. I think they are a fantastic brand. I've had their chocolate bars. We've had all their stuff. So if you ever want like a chocolate to try, Meiji's a really good one.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's delicious.
Like the after bite of it, or how you want to describe it, you just without the aroma bursting through your palate because you just got that roasted almond flavor all over.
Yeah.
But you know what? Other than great tasting chocolate, we got a lot to offer to those of you who are currently watching through Twitch, as the Pokemon UNITE Asia Champions League has this Watch Twitch campaign that's been running from the start all the way up to now, and this is your chance to win yourself some Pokemon UNITE goodies as well as Pokemon trading card on top of it all you have to do is to complete your registration on Stream Elements and just use whatever points that's being collected throughout the course of the broadcast for you to claim all these amazing prizes. You probably have seen it throughout the past stream, but if you're joining us for the first time, we'll show it to you guys once again. So let's take a look. What do you have on hand, Natalie?
Look, we've got a lot of stuff. So I've got the 3 folders here. And I'm trying to hold all 3 of them because they are all shifting folders. So you've got the Holoware, you've got the Pokemon's standard stance as well. These are not the only folders that we have. So we also have Zeraora, we've got Snorlax, and I think there's also Pikachu. I feel like there's another folder out there that I'm missing. But if you are curious to know what other folders we have, do check out the redemption so that you can see what Pokemon are available and what Holoware is tied with the folders. But they're really, really good folders. Don't skimp out on these. These are really good.
And you can always have a Pokemon alongside with you. Just tie it alongside with you, your keys. I have a Pikachu keychain and Cinderace, Tyranitar, Snorlax, many more as well.
Hang on, let's see if we can zoom in.
All right.
Not
and
quite.
Of course, right in the middle of your current screen as well, you also do have the stacking cans with a couple of boosted packs alongside with. So if you're a fan of Pokemon TCG and you just want to get these collection underway, you can keep your decks, and on top of that,
and we have
more
these
booster packs.
More booster packs. Yeah, so there's 2 booster packs here. The tins have, I believe, 3 booster packs in them each, and also the tins are coming in types if you didn't know. So we've got the dark type tin, the fighting type tin, and the fire type tin. So if there's a particular tin that you want, again, when you go to the redemption site, make sure that you are selecting the correct tin because the tin correlates to the type I believe that's inside. Although I could be wrong as well. But don't skimp out. These are pretty good too. I mean, you've got the three Galarian birds as well. So if you are like maybe a collector, these are also foiled, I believe. So yeah, very, very pretty cards, booster packs as well. Good luck to everybody that does collect all the boosters because at the end of the day, may the luck be in your favor.
Yeah, of course, if you can even bring your friends along if they are absolutely into getting all of these collectibles. But first, we'll leave you guys to that while you guys enjoy your time here alongside with us. But here are our participating teams that has been playing throughout the course of the first stage in East Asia League. We have representatives from the WCS 2022 Korea, Eternity, and then we have the guaranteed winners of the entirety of this first stage bracket, Hi-Fi out of Taiwan Open 2022.
Yeah, this team is technically qualified to the finals. We'll talk about this a little bit later on, but yeah, we've got Eternity, High Five, No Show, Secret Ship, T2. I mean, this is the last week for these teams to essentially collect points. Although, if I'm not mistaken, High Five have maybe completed all of their games. We'll take a look at the schedule in just a second here. But speaking of the teams, we did take a look at East Asia because that's the region we're focusing on today. If you're more interested in Southeast Asia, that is going to be tomorrow, and I believe we start an hour earlier. So make sure you tune into tomorrow's broadcast if SEA is where you want to be, because I know tomorrow is going to have one really hot matchup. Now, if you're following India, make sure you tune into the broadcast on Sunday because Contra, in case you didn't know, they're already going to be starting that second phase of their competition because they're a week ahead of everyone else. They didn't have to have that week off because of Chinese New Year. So if India is the region that you want to watch out for, make sure you come back on Sunday because, well, I mean, the matches in India, I think they're technically a little more high stakes than ours right now.
I absolutely agree. So you guys definitely don't want to miss that one. So for this Friday run, today we'll start off with T2 versus Eternity, and then later on, it's Secret Ship versus No Show to have the entirety of East Asia's first stage to be concluded. And then, of course, on the following onwards, we'll be moving on to the gauntlet runs of the second stage. But tomorrow, though, if you're going to be tuning into Southeast Asia, what you can look forward to is Rise versus Secret Rare, as well as Team MYS versus Renaissance. I think this is
stage. The more points you have, you'll be technically seeded a first seed, and I guess if you have the least amount of points, you'll be seeded last or fifth seed. Now, how the seeding works is that if you are seeded higher, then you will have to play less games. If you're the first seed, you'll only have to play one best of 3. If you're seeded 4th and 5th, you got to play all the games.
Exactly. So right now, we're going through the round robins itself, where it's already down towards the final 2 series. So after that, they will be placed into the gauntlet. How does it really look like? And how do teams actually get their golden ticket to fly to Malaysia? Well, of course, we'll talk about that later on, where we want to bring up what's at stake right now is the sum of money the teams can actually earn for the second stage onwards. You can already see the victors will walk away with $5,000 with their respective team. Second place will walk away with $2.5K, and on third, it's $1,000. Unfortunately for fourth as well as fifth, they will not be able to receive much. But once they're through, when they are in Malaysia, 30K is on the line for everybody to grab it.
Exactly. And just a quick refresher here for the tournament rules. We are going to be playing a standard game of Pokemon UNITE. It's a best of 3 series with both teams going up against each other 5v5. The map is going to be Thea Sky Ruins, and we are going through the draft mode, which means both teams will be picking their Pokemon and also banning a Pokemon each. No Pokemon restrictions, no item restrictions, and no medal restrictions either. And very quickly, here is the draft mode contra. Both teams will be allowed to ban a Pokemon each, and then both teams will take turns picking their Pokemon during the pick phase. One team will get first pick, the other team will get that final pick. Once both teams have picked their Pokemon, we'll be going into the preparation phase where players will be able to swap their Pokemon with their teammates. So even though your favorite team might pick Dodrio on a certain player, they're more than free to swap it to a different player if they want to try and play some mind games.
That's true, and that also offers a lot more flexibility and a heavier priority on certain Pokemon that you want to secure for your team first. And this is why we absolutely love this whole new format being introduced into this particular run from 2023 onward. So with that in mind, we're definitely getting ourselves prepared for what's about to come with our series kicking off with T2, who definitely do need those points to get themselves into a safer bracket. But before we even get to that, let's also check out what you guys may have missed out on the past week itself. So take a look at this video.
我这边接的招式都还在省哦，省到最后非常忍不住了开下去，但是田南美要开的比较晚，最后没有走掉，因为队友过来支援了。那正面战场呢，一内局先卡了2个人，忍蛙先拉开，应该要先止损吧，这边就先停了。那个时候接招是要打吗？这里选择打不是很好吧？完蛋了，忍蛙这边有机会发挥吗？看起来最后是不太够啊！哇，最后选择回头打，真的是一个非常錯誤的決定啊。
フォクシーを捉えに行くところを逆手に取って迎撃する形を取っているのはシークレットシップ。月の光で回復しながら、いやーそれでも絶対に割りついてくる。絶対にフォクシーを、そして何もさせません。いやーこれ。100 poin. Sekarang berbalik keunggulannya, tapi berhasil ditumbangkan 3 Pokemon SKP. Apakah ini akan menjadi Pokemon keempat yang akan ditumbangkan? Absol menggunakan Unite Move-nya belum bisa ngapa-ngapain, langsung harus kembali lagi. Triple Pack dikeluarkan, langsung Tyranitar dipukul-pukul dan harus tumbang juga di sana.
Difficult for Dodrio to feel comfortable to try and go for those back caps. Look at this Hydro Typhoon, catches out too. Snorlax goes down right away, and they do manage to keep the Blissey up for a little bit longer, but doesn't really matter. The support, the defense, it is gone. Now it's time for this offense to drop one by one on Secret Rare.
Against 536, 400 last instance, 500 more, 500 more.
But they need to get another score. Yeah, 35.
35, can they actually do it? 14.
No.
20 points, 20 points, 20 points is what they would lack against Marcos. A comeback in the end.
Man, Marcos.
Come in, the battle begins at the legendary pit. There you go, the action from Mamoswine, and the damage goes in but divine. The Mamoswine has already taken the damage, goes in, gets the Rayquaza for themselves.
We had lost track of time because the SATL look like they're commanding everything, and Rayquaza is stolen. Tio takes it away, runs away. gives his team a chance to close this game, but wait, his teammates are unable to score. Ouch! Reggie Aliki!
全部残血回来，反而是有机会把人给换掉，剩下螃蟹一个人。火狐后面 poke 伤害看起来够哦，火狐的伤害来了，开始轰炸了，轰轰轰，哇，全没啦！
And that was the highlights of the past week. Now starting off another week itself, we're kicking things off with Eternity versus T2. And quickly as we go, we've already got the drafts all set and ready. We are seeing
Oh my goodness.
Eternity starting off on a high note. They managed to secure a scissor, Blissey for themselves, and
There's a Greedon.
yeah, there's a Greedon in this matchup. You know what to expect.
All right, so firstly, apologies to all of our trainers that are watching the broadcast. The players are getting a little ahead of themselves, but that's totally fine because we get some exciting games. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? So I think a lot of people, if you didn't tune in, I think it was to last week's Southeast Asia, or maybe it was the week before, we saw the domination of Greedon. This Pokemon went totally ham, and I think it has a 100% win rate in Southeast Asia. So to see it in the final week for East Asia, I'm really excited to see what Sejun wants to do with this because he's going to be a total pain, right? Doduo wants to evolve as quickly as possible, and if Sejun's able to get the last hit, which he doesn't unfortunately, you are going to be slowing down the progression of Hibachi, and we know how momentum-based this Doduo can be, and luckily they get the KO, so no success there for Sejun, but this did bring the Clefable into the central area, leaving the side lane open.
Yeah, great read coming out of T2 as well, and I felt like Sejun was a little bit too overzealous. Like, he didn't even had any time to go for maybe a certain camp to get those experience points in the way, and by then this Doduo as well as the Clefable has been able to at least level up and have a little bit more advantage. So first pick off coming out of T2 did result in 12 points and slowly stabilizing themselves, but of course not too much to fret as the Greedon where you lost one early on, you could still find a way to stabilize. Meanwhile, over on the bottom lane, we have Supercell as well as Ruin having some heavy pokes to be able to manage for themselves. But for the time being, at least this Cypher Hanukkah has been able to get a grasp, and now going for a 2 versus 2 challenge.
Oh, no.
And they will eventually find another knockout, and that's where a T2 please trades off well.
It's going to be a 2-for-1 as well, so not ideal for Eternity, and especially when you haven't been able to get the Squirvet to evolve into Greedon, right? You don't really see this Pokemon really being a threat up until you get that full evolution. So hopefully Sejun's going to hit that level 5 soon, so we can start seeing the rampage of that Greedon. Now, I just want to take a look at the draft here for T2, right? Condro, do you kind of feel like they have enough, or at least ample protection to deal with the Greedon? Because we did speak to the Southeast Asian players when it came to the Greedon pick, and they said that this Pokemon thrives when a team doesn't have enough backline protection.
True enough, but when we take a look at this, you have a slow roll if you could basically suppress a very annoying Greedon if he runs too far ahead of his own team. Then I felt like, at least for T2, once they do reach the mid to late game onwards, they'll be able to stabilize.
Look at this standoff.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness, I think that's an instant KO. Wow, great ambush coming in from Eternity, realizing that if they can shut this top lane down, this is going to give them a big opening to take that Reggie Alecki. But what's the play here? Is the rotation going to be going to bottom lane? It looks like it is. So they break the top goals, they get their levels, and they're going to try and contest for the Reggie down in the bottom lane. And Solo Delphox up top, so they're going to try and grab both. No, they're just going to cancel. So Reggie Rock here to T2. Eternity going to try and take that Reggie Alecki for themselves, which Hanukkah should easily be able to melt this.
Yeah, as much as Eternity managed to stabilize in that instance where they trade the top post for the bottom goal zone, this is where they even get even more. They of course secured the Reggie, and they get another knockout. So with that being said, this Decidueye is just going to have such a smooth time, already hitting level 8, and will have a little bit more burst potential hitting on. Now T2 tries to hold them back over on the top goal zone.
Oh my gosh.
And the rest of Eternity, they're all scrambling for the time being, and Alecki will be held back, so T2 got things going for them.
Yeah, I think T2 is doing a really great job playing around the Decidueye as well. They've got some big spirit shackles, and that just melts so much health off the side of Eternity. One of the things you need to think about with Eternity is that their team wants to get in your face. You've got a Greedent that wants to be in the back lines. You've got a Mamoswine that wants to maintain the front lines, giving space to your Delphox. And then, of course, you're going to have Hanukkah on the Scyther, right? Like, if Scyther can't get on top of you, that you're kind of not going to be able to use the potential of that Pokemon. So as long as T2 can just consistently kite and frontline for that Decidueye, I don't think this game is going to be that problematic, because this game, we're not seeing a Greedent blow up. Sejun has definitely been struggling this game to find that opening, to start pressuring the back lines.
Yeah.
I think also something to remember as well, when a Greedent does really well, he is so good at invading the enemy's central area. He can basically knock out those wild Pokemon for himself and deny experience to their opponents. That's also not happening. And I feel like this also just goes to show how pressured he feels playing this Greedent this game. So it seems like he's transitioning to play a different role. Not so much of an invader, but maybe more of a nuisance when those team fights do finally occur.
Absolutely agree, and then you have this Clefable to be able to catch him out if he ever wants to try to escape. So you could also understand why Sejun could not really pull off some greedy plays where you just want to be
The
all in the
Greedent
face.
plays.
So T2, they get their hands on another Reggie, and this time it's going to be a Regice that will be able to give them at least some bonus HP gen. And now,
Cool.
Ajin holding them back and even dishing so much damage, they should be able to actually chase them all down. Hobachi arrived at the scene. Can they contest for the Ilecki is going to be the question. But Hobachi is looking for a
they're
bad
abandoning.
angle.
They're abandoning. They are too scared to have this stolen potentially by the Decidueye. Looks like Mamoswine has been able to get on top of him. We do see the fireworks get thrown down, and oh my goodness, it actually gets stolen by T2. Oh my goodness, that's a huge loss for Eternity. I mean, I saw them stop because they knew that there was a high chance it could have been stolen by a Spirit Shackle, but oh, to lose it like that, it just feels so dirty.
Oh my goodness. Talk over onto the Delphox as well. They get that knockout, and this is where Eternity chooses to strike back. Ajin's going to be pretty low, but Hanukkah is still standing tall, trying to trade off with Sejun, but he does survive. Meanwhile, they're being shoved
Look at
upon.
this man frontline. Oh my goodness.
Oh my word. Herald is still surviving though. The backup has arrived, but they don't really have the damage to offer. And Hanukkah, after scoring so many points, he finally arrives to the scene, and they get another counter camp. Still consider that to be more on T2's advantage.
Oh my goodness. T2 are doing a fantastic job this game, right? They were going up against a team that has a lot of problematic Pokemon, and they've done a really great job at keeping them zoned away. They have the Clefable there with the constant sustain, and we're not seeing them really crumble in these team fights. Now, they're not in the clear because especially when it comes to that Rayquaza, team fight wise, I think if Eternity get a good angle, they can just sweep T2 aside. So it's going to be a really big balancing act as to whether T2 can get the appropriate knockouts or do enough damage to just zone Eternity away. Clefable is a much better AoE healing Pokemon compared to something like Blissey. Blissey is single target. So there's not really much you can do there. Sustain is just not comparable.
Oh, they're camping out for this champ, and while they are doing this, T2 gets that free access into another Regis while they go on a chase. Haruna's going to be able to hold this one back for the time being, but they will allow a little bit more points to be scored by the Mamoswine. But look at the rest of Eternity. They are just pressing on, but how much more can they actually do? They got to prepare because 18 seconds from now, Rayquaza is going to come out online.
Yeah, it's such an unfortunate push for Eternity as well. They went as 4 and they got zoned away by a Machamp. And at the same time, T2 took the Reggie down in the bottom lane. I did see Sejun there try to get the steal as well. He wasn't successful. It would have been really good if he could have gotten that, because look at the level differences between these two teams. You have multiple level 13 Pokemon on T2. Eternity are mostly sitting on 10 for the majority of their Pokemon, so a lot of their moves haven't been upgraded yet. So they're playing at a really big deficit. So for Eternity, is it just going to be camp around the Rayquaza? Is it going to be back capping? Like, what's the play here? I don't think you can really play the back cap game, especially up against such a well-protected Decidueye.
Exactly, and then you still have that Dodger now back capping as well. They're already applying pressure, and my goodness, this Machamp finds it all the way to the back line to eliminate Wallon, and they will eventually steal the Rayquaza away.
That's a big turnaround. Now they're going to be able to get those much needed points because this game, it wasn't as lopsided as it could have been. They held their ground. The team fight was there. Yes, they lost the Delphox, but ultimately when it comes to Rayquaza, it's who gets that last hit and can they get the defense off. Ruin is just too low. He's all alone getting zoned out by the Delphox. Now up in that top lane, we've got, look at this, Seijun single-handedly protecting the goal from 3 Pokemon. There aren't that many defenders that can do this rather easily, but Greedent just being such an agile Pokemon, it's so difficult to stop this from happening.
And T2, they're absolutely desperate. They need to find a little bit more of that wiggle room, but both Wall as well as Ajin is already protecting their territories already. Meanwhile,
120 points.
Just waiting for it.
It's 120 points. That's all they need if there's no back cap. But yeah, look at take a look at this. I don't know if they're going to be able to have enough firepower for it. So big push here from T2. So far though, Eternity with the defender's advantage. They have the shielding. Yeah, Hanukkah just getting really big damage and shredding 3 Pokemon. Now T2 left with 1. It's just going to be the Dodrio. But Hibachi, you need 100. He needs 120 points. And I just don't think he can do it by himself. Yeah, instant KO, clean up. Eternity have managed to turn this game around, even though they had such a difficult early game.
And it's all about finding that perfect team fight. Eternity that was banking on hopes that they will all clump up on that Rayquaza pit, and yes, they did. We look at the strength of this composition where they could basically throw all of their Unite moves all together, and by then, as much as Wulong was caught out, I was absolutely overwhelmed with the steal that came through, and I'm pretty sure T2 did not expect that form of retaliation, and Eternity walks away with this massive point to kickstart our round.
Yeah, if anything, I just want to say props to Heron. This guy frontlined like a champ. Yes, Seijun may have been the one to take the most damage, but I think in these team fights, we did see quite a lot of Heron just being there, stopping T2 from just getting into Eternity's face. They had a lot of frontliners. They did have the sustain there from Jandi, and they just did a great job. And of course, final hit, Rayquaza, that's the ultimate goal. As much as you want to get as many Pokemon knockouts as possible, at the end of the day, you get that big objective that just turns things around because you also get a damage buff with the shield.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And on top of what may have not worked too well for Eternity, they still stick to their game plan after all. They were hoping that Seijun gets a head start on that early game, but because of that invade that went sour, they try to hold back for a little bit and try to stabilize themselves until they get themselves into advantageous situation. And for most part, they had to let go of all these contests onto its bottom lane. Most of the Reggies went over onto the hands of T2 without much form of contest.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
You get the last hit in Rayquaza, and you're also getting the knockouts as well. I mean, I thought it was going to be T2 favored because they had the levels. I think the majority of their Pokemon were level 13, level 12, so they were either already fully maxed out in the skills department or very close to it. And then Eternity, we're really at a 2-level deficit. I mean, to be able to get the Rayquaza like that, you have to kind of wonder if you're T2, should you have just tried to play the defending game instead, rather than trying to just gun for the Rayquaza? Should you have just fought Eternity and just kept them off of the Rayquaza instead?
Yeah, and it was just astounding how they pulled this one off. I would say this is almost miraculous in how the odds were against their favor, and in terms of team fight, T2 was offering so much damage output, especially when you have this decision.
I mean, look at this. Heron's just being a boss, man.
Yeah,
it's insane.
He's just going to tank everybody out there, and Heron really created so many opportunities for a team, especially on this instance where they were already challenging that Rayquaza. Immediately, you see this Machamp hop over on the back, but Eternity, they were so fixated on this Rayquaza by the end of it.
Yeah, they got the Rayquaza. Like, if you're T2, you have to realize, like, hey, are they burning Rayquaza? Because, like, you could tell T2 were just so fixated on fighting. But Eternity were like, if we fight, we're just going to lose this. And we have the damage to just burn that Rayquaza down. And they did so freely. Like, we didn't see any form of disruption coming in from T2. Maybe an alternative would have been for them to intercept them in the Rayquaza pit. Or maybe position themselves to get the steal themselves. Because I think they've got one of the best Pokemon that can snipe Rayquaza, which is the Decidueye. The Spirit Shackle, fully charged, does so much damage. Now, of course, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the steal. But you also have to read the room. What's happening? What's your opponent trying to do? Can you defend it from that burn? If not, can you steal it back?
Yeah, and to my surprise, usually the team that starts off with the Rayquaza attempt would at least burn some resources on top of it. So with that in mind, there's a lot of windows where T2 could have actually punished them. They did look after their back line, which you only got one on, but what comes after, like they didn't really have that quick snap of a focus to turn the attention back into that Rayquaza. And with that, you know, first pointer in, Eternity kickstart our run, and now with 1 point being secured, they still need another one in the back. As we look quickly in the table, they will definitely need more of those points to be able to match up against No Show as well as T2. T2 currently with 6 points on second place, where if they win one more, at least T2 solidifies themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, right? So if Eternity 2-0 T2, they're actually going to tie against each other.
Wow, if that's going to be the case, would we actually get a tiebreaker where they will have to play one more match in particular?
Yeah, so there is a chance that we can get a tiebreaker between these two teams. Now, I do want to remind our viewers, okay, someone's going to ask, how does tiebreakers work? So if it's a two-way tiebreaker, we're going to play a best-of-1 series, and of course, whoever wins that series is going to get the highest seed, and then of course the other team will get the lowest seed. I wonder if there's even a chance that we can get a three-way, because I saw on the screen there's a team sitting on 5 points. So if, let's say they lose the series, but they manage to bring it to 2-1, we could be looking at a three-way tiebreaker. Now, we do have a remedy for three-way tiebreakers. You can see on the screen, right? So we're not going to play 3 best-of-1s back-to-back to back. How we determine it first is that we're going to pick 2 teams. Now, the 2 teams that play will technically lose the teams head-to-head. Now, if you're wondering what head-to-head is, the referees are going to look at the score from all of these teams' games against each other. Who has the better score of all 3 teams will be able to essentially skip to the next round. And so the other 2 teams will play a best-of-1. The winner of that series will play the winner of the head-to-head. And the winner of that series, again, another best-of-1, will be the winner and is going to be the one placed at the top of the seeding. And then, of course, you know how it goes. Second seed, third seed. All that shenanigans. So we've got a remedy in case anyone's happening, and we could be looking at some extra games today. But of course, it does depend on whether or not we actually hit some of these requirements, right? Are we going to get a 2-way tie? Maybe are we even going to get a 3-way tie? And if we're lucky, or actually unlucky, because I want to watch more Unite, we might not have any tiebreakers at all.
It's so stressful to be the trainers right now because this day is so crucial in
important,
order for them to survive the gauntlet runs on stage 2. And at the same time, it's so exciting for everybody tuning into the broadcast because with so many possibilities, there can only be a few teams that will be getting that advantage into our second stage. But as we continue on, we'll have to take a look whether or not will T2 at least force a tie onto the series. And if they just get like 1 point out of this, at least they will be certain that they will be at least confirmed for the second spot.
Yeah, exactly. So T2 have to win this game. Even if they lose that next game after this, it really doesn't matter. So T2, if there's a time to pull out the crazy strats, it's time to do it now. Now, of course, we see the Greedent ban. We're not going to be seeing that at all. Unfortunate, but sometimes things have to be done. And to take away Seijun's Greedent, I think this was a necessary evil, but I'm curious to see what Pokemon they're going to put him on for this round. In the meantime, though, Eternity playing it safe, Slowbro and Clefable. This is a really common duo that we're seeing nowadays, especially with the buffs to Clefable. This Pokemon is healing much more compared to its past self. And then, of course, you have the changes to Gravity, so not surprised that this is now considered a first pick Pokemon nowadays. Whereas for T2, third phase, they are going to guarantee their own healer with that Blissey, and Aegislash is going to make an appearance. So we've got a backline diver, but they also have their backline DPS for that Mew. So T2's draft looking pretty solid so far. They just need to finalize it with maybe a defender or another tanky frontliner. But also consider, do they maybe need another diver? Because these next 2 Pokemon from Eternity, it's going to be Glaceon and possibly Hanukkah Scyther. I'd be pretty interested if it's a Scizor, but let's assume Scyther at this point.
That's right. And overall for T2, they will definitely want to deny that dodge from the hands of Eternity from the past round.
Is
at the
this
same
Gacha?
time.
Oh man, I was
It could
excited.
be Blastoise. We've seen Blastoise for quite a number of times, but they definitely do need a little bit more
Blastoise?
damage numbers to offer. But my question here is,
Aw,
if they
man.
go for the Blastoise, they might have a problem to deal with Dodrio to be running around the map. So they really have to look at their options here, and they're considering a Lucario to find ways to stop an Aegislash, and on top of that, you need to find the Dodrio at the same time. Therefore, you look at some Pokemon on T2's end to be a tad squishy. It's a lot of work for Ajin to be able to keep everybody alive, and which is why Supercell would always take charge of the front line of the defense. And with that being said, both sides have got their Pokemon rosters locked right in. It's time to see whether or not can Eternity close it off with a 2-0 record, and could it potentially be a tiebreaker between some of these teams? And T2 needing only just one
They
game.
have to win. This is actually it for
One game to
T2.
determine their spot safely into the second seed of the second stage.
All right, Pokemon trainers, let's jump into game 2 between T2 and Eternity. After this game, we could maybe be seeing that tiebreaker happen, but of course, is it going to happen, Eternity? That's the big question mark for this team. As the trainers head into their side lanes, let's sort of see what's going to be the distribution for Pokemon. And so far, it's going to be Heron and Sejun in that bottom lane. Now, they did put Sejun on that classic Slowbro, so he is going to be frontlining for the team and just being an absolute nuisance. I think the respect for Slowbro picks, especially because it's become a real priority nowadays. I love seeing Slowbro. He's a self-sustaining defender who can do a reasonable amount of damage, and depending on what skills you go for, he can be just an absolute menace when it comes to stuns, or he can even do reasonable damage with the Scald and reduce attack. And it's pretty difficult to actually eliminate in lane, although when it comes to pre-Evo Slowbro, he is rather weak. But if you got Wallon here with that Glaceon, this might just be enough support to actually get Sejun over that finish line and get the evolution off.
Oh boy, a lot of pressure
Heron!
onto Heron, as it will take down the Lucario, and that's the first KO of the game. And T2 slowly getting a little bit more of advantages situation here on the second matchup, where they're hoping to find ways to snowball, and now already challenging for more experience points on the El Tower. They will be able to secure more onto the camp, and Hanaka's got to pull back. Should have the agility to do so.
Yeah, they had to pop the X speed on the Clefable as well. You don't want to get knocked out there. The healing was there as well, so it would have been a very difficult KO. Although Woolen getting caught here by 2 Pokemon, they're still being chased there by the Blissey, but so far the backup is going to be just there, and it should be fine for Woolen. He's got 2 Pokemon to keep him safe. They're going to try and turn onto this Duo Blade, but I'm not necessarily sure this is going to be a successful KO. I mean, Glaceon's here. Is this going to be the damage, though? First KO already. You've lost the Blissey, so that's going to be your sustain gone and out of that picture. Duo Blade luckily is going to be okay, but maybe the goal zone isn't going to be as safe, but Glaceon's still chasing after the Duo Blade. He's like, no, stay out of the fight. This is not your battle, man.
Yeah, and Supercell has managed to survive having a couple of Citrus Berry lying around the corner of the goal zone, and still cancel out some of the potential scores that can go through from Eternity. A little bit of a tussle over onto the midsection as Hanaka managed to spot out Ajin. Not the Pokemon that you really want to chase after, because Blissey's got so much sustain, so we'll just leave him be. For now, both sides have stabilized. T2 only having very slight edges in this very early game, but what I really want to see is how big of a team fight are we going to be subscribed into when the Reggie do spawn over onto both ends of the map. So a lot more priority being given onto Eternity over on top side here. And here it goes. They're picking a fight.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Woolen if he's going to be able to do the damage to get those KOs off. And so far, it's a 1-to-1 trade there, Contra. Not really much of a win for anybody. No points scored, just a couple Pokemon knocked out and a truce for both sides. But I want to see here what's the priority for both teams. Who's going to be prioritizing the Reggie down bottom, and if anyone is going to actually consider taking the Reggie Alecki up top. Because the meta so far has been more on experience, right? You want to take the Reggie down bottom, you get the buff as well. And so far, it looks like Eternity are going to be the ones to put themselves right on top of Reggie Rock. This will give a defensive buff as well as experience.
T2.
So here we go, we get the start. The right team will get it though, so Eternity still getting that buff. Unfortunately, T2 not able to get the steal, and look at this, Eternity looking to get the dive with the defensive buff. It's going to be much harder to get the KOs. Aegis Slash is here trying to get those last hits in, but can they finish off the Lucario? Will just be able to dash on out of there, and Heron's just going to score for free. No Pokemon go down for Eternity, and T2 unsuccessful with the defense, but they do get the Aleki up top.
It's really down to Hibachi on how much he can basically pull through. 40-pointer destroys the top end of the goal zone while they will continue to thrive. Eternity getting so much of a wealth of experience, and T2 was only a split second too late to even get any chance to steal it off. There's only the Snorlax up front where they didn't really want to fully commit.
Oh,
we see Rayquaza up in the sky for the temporary measure as both sides are going on a quick reset, and then T2, you look at them playing on this slower tempo because they know what's at stake right now. They really want to prepare for that late game. So you don't want to give unnecessary knockouts, and you just got to do what you have to. Despite them pulling off that defense on that bottom zone, they didn't falter, so that was good enough for them.
Yeah. I'd even say maybe in these team fights, Eternity have a slight edge because they have the potential to just delete Pokemon. If they're able to combo up the Scyther and the Glaceon together, you can easily 100-0 one of those the squishier T2 Pokemon. It looks like so far though, T2 looking to get rid of that bottom goal zone, so both teams now not going to have access to the speed flux at all. Some damage done there onto the Aegis Slash, but I think this should be a rather successful escape for T2. Both teams looking to reset because 20 seconds to go, we are going to be seeing a respawned Reggie. Now the question is it going to be a impactful Reggie, right? Because out of all the Reggies, I think some people are still going to say Regice is probably the weakest, right? You don't get an attack buff, you don't get the defense buff. Those two Reggies are a little bit more impactful for those aggressive lineups. T2, on the other hand, they just want the experience. And it's going to be the Reggie Rock. So Eternity prioritizing the top goal zone instead. They're just going to sacrifice that bottom Reggie. Pretty interesting move. I wonder what the ultimate plan is here with this. Are they just going to overcap this goal and say we're going to try and be as efficient as possible? They will try and go for Reggie Aleki, yeah. Unfortunately for Doju, you're not going to be able to get a full break on that goal zone. Aleki, though, you're going to go in favor of Eternity. So both teams just really trading goal zones at this point. We're not really seeing much more than that. Oh, Mystical used it by the Mew to try and preserve itself, but they're unfortunately still going to get KO'd by that Scyther. Support comes in, but you kind of don't want to be losing Pokemon for free, especially when there's going to be an imminent battle. Really nice Icy win there from the Glaceon Wulong, getting some big hits onto that Snorlax. They won't successfully push anyone onto the goal zone, and we already have the Aegis Slash slowly working down the Aleki. But look at this, though. We're trying to get some back caps here on that Scyther. He's got support coming in the back lines. Clefable there coming in with the heals. T2 looking to go for a heavy defense as they get ready for Rayquaza, which is going to pop up in a minute and a half now.
That's right, and Eternity have given so much room for T2 to work out that bottom push as well. And on top of that, they were really banking on hopes that they secure this Aleki and just force shove their way down the top end of the map. But despite that, sure, they managed to destroy another goal zone, take out a little bit more of that split flux, but it doesn't really matter too much because T2 still held on, and they had plenty of time to actually go in for the reset. So I wonder if Eternity is ever interested on getting the final Reggie that's available on the bottom side. They only got 20 over seconds to decide, but T2 is already well on their way, so...
There's 30 seconds to take it.
It's hard.
Yeah, when it spawns, you've only got 30 seconds up until Rayquaza, so maybe both teams just have a standoff. Although if you lose your Aegis Slash here, this is not going to be good at all. Aegis Slash gone, it's only a 10-second respawn timer, but this is going to give you a numbers disadvantage in that bottom fight, and we all know how experience is important, especially during these final 30 seconds up until Rayquaza.
Back cap though, like we see them actually prioritizing more on these points. They open up a little bit more room, but the rest of T2 had to back away, so it may not be as, say, the best of decision, but now they are at least more than 100 points against Eternity. All they have to do is to defend this Rayquaza right here, right now.
Oh, and they managed to find the Snorlax as well. If he goes down here, this is right before Rayquaza spawns. He's going to try and get the blocks off, and then here's the dive there from T2. But do they have the damage for it? The healing from Clefable. There's just no one losing health on the side of Eternity. But T2, they're also making a good recovery. They've lost the Aegis Slash 15 seconds up until that Pokemon comes back up. And now T2, they're going to be at the mercy of Eternity. And T2 are so desperate to pick up a win here, because if they don't, we could be looking at a tiebreaker. It's actually certain up until this point. Half health on this Rayquaza. What's the play here? Is Eternity just going to try and go for the burn onto Rayquaza? It looks like that's the play, but is there a steal? They got the steal! Oh, Eternity! This may have just been a massive mistake from the team. They're going to quickly score points in that bottom goal zone. They're going to give it to Ruin there to guarantee that 100-point dunk. 38 points there onto the Blissey, and now it's time to defend. Dodrio going in, they do get a pick off onto Heron, so no scores available for that Lucario. 458 points to 188. Eternity have just fumbled the ball here.
I can't believe that they managed to pull it off. T2, despite losing the 80 slash for 2 times in a row, they fought again on that Rayquaza pit, and then they were holding all their resources back, hoping that they will eventually have enough to burst it down in the nick of time. But the 80 slash did came back, and eventually the rest of T2 all hopped on board.
I don't know
and
if they...
stole away. Now this is just too huge of a deficit for Eternity.
I don't know if they have enough points.
I don't think so.
I don't know if they can. They've got to break through that bottom goal zone first, and they have to have someone either back cap or they've got to push as 5. And look at this, though. More back caps. Yeah, T2 are just going to make this so much more difficult. We get the jump there onto that jump pad, and look at that stun. Eternity not really able to score those points. Slow Snorlax just doing what he's doing. Just the stuns, slow them down. They can't score the points. We do see some points going down, but 558 to 324. It's still not enough, Contra.
They're still racing in.
10 seconds to go, and T2 are just doing such a good job at denying the points.
T2 have brought themselves the biggest victory at this point. Sure, it is a draw, but this at least secures T2 to be the 2nd seed throughout the brackets. Congratulations to them, as they might just be the one to eventually hold on to the chance of securing the golden ticket by just playing one best of 3 series in the gauntlet. But Eternity here still hoping to put more points in order to fight for that 3rd seed.
Yeah,
but my goodness, Eternity was leading the pack for most part.
Yeah, so look, I think this game was a pretty tough one for Eternity. They did manage to win a significant number of battles, but look, we got to give props to where it's due. Hibachi being, firstly, such a pain to deal with. He was constantly backcapping, and Eternity felt the pressure because they couldn't sit there and protect Rayquaza because they were at a point disadvantage. Because if you're not fighting and Hibachi's able to score points for free in the backlines, it really doesn't matter if you defend Rayquaza or not. So they felt pressured to have to burn Rayquaza to try and get that last hit, to get the shield, to go and score points for themselves. But the fact that they lost it meant that T2 could just score more points. They've also got the extra scoring speed, which means they quickly score points, they can teleport back to their base, and then they just defend Eternity, who don't have that scoring speed. So, I mean, it was a tough game to swallow. T2 handled the game very well. Yeah, I think they just had to do what they had to do, and they executed it beautifully. I mean, look, numbers-wise, Hibachi wasn't really there to do damage. He was there to deal with gold, and that's what Dodrio can do.
He gathered every Eos energy that's left on the map, and he just kept scoring and scoring. And you've expected at least Hanaka or Heron to be able to match up to some of all these attempts coming out of the Dodrio. In the early game, you've seen Eternity securing the Regirock for themselves, and from that point onwards, T2, all they were left to do is to defend for most part, and they also did lose interest on contending for the other Regis that was available for the past game onwards.
The bottom Regi,
and then you just have, look at top lane, like, just free access for this Dodrio for most part. Got the Aleki, and then eventually, first, they had a little bit of that team fights that did went in favor of Eternity, but T2 still held on, and by 2 minutes onwards, they already had the point advantage. So it's really down to the pressure of Eternity, whether can they get that Rayquaza down, and those battles went in their favor. But despite that, all the Unites were already committed, and T2 seized that window of opportunity, bought enough time as well as space, and from this point onwards, just look at the positioning. There was not much gap to be left, but on the top side, Ruin has already gathered enough information, and then the rest of T2 were just prying for that opening, and eventually they got it.
Yeah, I mean, it was Mew. Mew is a amazing Pokemon when it comes to sniping that Rayquaza. So firstly, to know that Mew was still around, to know that Dodrio was still around, and heck, you can even say the Snorlax, right? Snorlax with the heavy slam is also a potential candidate to steal that last hit on that Rayquaza. So it was just a really tough game. I don't blame Eternity for having to make that play because they absolutely were pressured to do it. They had to, because ultimately, to all of our viewers watching this game, it doesn't matter how many Pokemon you knock out. At the end of the day, the winner is decided by how many points you've scored.
That's true. And of course, with superior positioning on that Rayquaza battle, they've managed to not only steal away, but immediately run to that goal zone. You saw the Mew just
It was
basically
so fast, man.
position all the way, wrapped around, probably at, if you look at the map, it's probably at like, what, 5 o'clock sharp from where the Rayquaza was. And it's like, okay, I'm the nearest to the goal zone. I'm going to speed my way, run it down. And that was exactly what they did. And by then, like, you just need a few members to be able to score. And they are well on the track and just committed to defending that. Nothing much that the rest of Eternity could basically get out of return. Now, most importantly, going down to this tie itself in this series, the most crucial team to score the final point will have to be Eternity because they are currently in this position where in the bracket,
I think they're fourth on the bracket.
They're currently fourth. If they
Yeah.
do win one more point, perhaps there may just be a little bit more chance for them to climb to third, perhaps. Would that be?
I'm not sure if we're going to be able to have a look at the bracket because I think the third game will start. But if we do get a chance, I think they'll give us a better idea. Yes, we will take a look at the brackets here because, okay, so at the moment, oh, okay, this is not the right bracket. But this is the Phase 2 bracket. This is what we're going to be going for next week, the playoffs bracket. We're trying to figure out where the teams are going to be. Now, for East Asia, first seed is 100% high five. That is guaranteed. This team is 12 points. They're way ahead of the competition. It's totally fine. We are going to take a look at the bracket right now to see how many points everyone is sitting on. So before that game just now, the way that tiebreaker was going to potentially happen is that if it was a 2-0, Eternity would have tied 6 points with T2, and we could have had a tiebreaker between those two teams. Now, after this, T2 are now sitting on 7 points because they got 1 point winning that game. There's no way Eternity can catch up now because they can only get 2 more points for this series. So for Eternity, essentially what has to happen here is you have to win this series now, you have to win this next game, and you're also hoping that No-Show do not get any more points today.
But if Eternity gets the full series in return, would they actually get 3 points in favor?
They started with 3, so the 4 we're looking at is already the point from their first game. Yeah,
All right.
it's a little bit confusing. Yeah, so T2 are guaranteed second place. Wait a minute. No-Show. If No-Show win 5, 6,
that
7...
would at least
actually,
guarantee
yeah.
them 6 points, right?
So if No-Show win, they will actually get second place. If T2 do not win this next game. If Eternity win this game and No-Show get no points in their next game, then Eternity will take third place and No-Show will drop down to third. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on in this bracket, and of course, I know chat's probably going well. Like they're starting to take out calculators and stuff, perhaps.
Yeah, please.
And we'll definitely let this play its course because this series is still underway, where we'll have to see if T2 actually secures even more massive points, and then No-Show will also have to find ways to also catch a window to basically fight their way for a second place time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, pretty interesting day so far. I'm just thinking, is there a potential way to get another tiebreaker? And technically there is, right? Like, so if, assuming Eternity win their game, they're going to sit on 6 points. If No-Show loses to Secret Ship, but they get 1 point, then we are also looking at another potential tiebreaker, and it's still going to be for third place. So there's... Ladies and gentlemen, we could have a tiebreaker today. That's all I'm trying to say. It could be between these two teams, and we might not have it at all. It really comes down to whether or not certain teams are going to get certain results. So at the moment, for Eternity, we could see a tiebreaker, but they have to win this next game. If T2 win this, then I think there is no way we get any more tiebreakers.
That's right.
Yes.
So, of course, with that
My
being
brain
said,
is gone.
it has been quite the series to determine the placements of the entirety of the first stage. And I think things have started to at least culminate in such a way that it shows East Asia is indeed one of the strongest Pokemon Unite regions of them all. It's so competitive that anybody on a given day would be able to snatch those points away. And
Speaking of points, Contra, the third game is ready. So let's jump into the draft and see who's going to be taking Game 3 of this best of 3 series. Is it going to be a comeback? Is it going to be a fiesta? I really feel like in these final games, and especially considering this is the last game for the entirety of Phase 1, you kind of have to bring out the crazy now.
yeah, they definitely have to do so. And when we look at the drafts once
not
more,
surprised.
the Greedent is being left available, and Eternity says, hey, I guess that we can still apply a little bit more pressure, but Slowbro doesn't seem to be too bad of an option. It has been the staple for majority of the matches that we've seen where the beam is just way too strong to suppress at least one Pokemon down in those team fights.
We have to also realize that they can still pick up the Greedent. They have run 2 defenders, right? We saw Eternity with the Mamoswine and the Greedent. So if they really want to, they could. But it also depends, like, is this also going to be a game where Greedent could be a good Pokemon? Because it's still so very early. You don't know what's going to be on the side of T2. We kind of know now, right? We've got the Mew, we've got Clefable, Snorlax likely going to make an appearance here, and Dodrio again going into T2. You know, sometimes you just got to pick your best Pokemon. And with only one ban, sometimes you just kind of have to deal with it.
Oh boy, we're looking at some hover onto the Garchomp as well as a Marill.
They're thinking.
they're hoping to go in for big team fights, and they're also considering, hey, perhaps Tyranitar sounds good.
Yeah.
I guess Eternity feels pretty much comfortable to try something absolutely different to determine this series. Now, pressure is on. I mean, with Talonflame, you can also keep up to speed. Now, I want to see how could they basically handle this pressure from inside of T2, where majority of their Pokemon is on a little bit more on the endurance factor that they can bring in terms of team fight sustainability, and then you have Supercell, who's currently on to that Mew. Preparation phase might actually see that switch, of course.
Yeah, I think Ruin's going to take that Mew.
Yeah.
We normally see, so Ruin Mew again. This is not the first time he's played this Mew. But Supercell is, all right, Snorlax. I was a bit confused. I was like, Supercell? All right, Clefable, Supercell. Nah,
they're
he's
just going to
normally
stick
on
to the
Snorlax.
usual if that's the case. But I do like what I'm seeing for T2. They are hoping to come off with the same playstyle that we saw for the past 2 runs. But this time, Wolon on Tyranitar. He was sitting on the back line on other Pokemons. This time, he will be at the forefront, hoping to see this Blissey as well as Slowbro to supplement whatever pickoff potential necessary. And then we keep our eyes on Heron, because there can be really huge heroics out of this Talonflame.
Yeah, I am really excited to see the Tyranitar here come out, because firstly, this Pokemon, absolutely your late game insurance. It's an insurance policy, right? You're putting your money into the bank. You're saying, all right, I want to make sure I have insurance in case anything goes wrong. And that's what really Tyranitar is such a strong late game Pokemon. He's got resistances when he has the Sand Stream going up as well. He's got damage that can go through shielding too, which can be problematic. You are not going to be able to two-shot this with Dodrio or Mew. You have to be careful of your positioning, because of course he can Ancient Power right on top of your squishies, and there's not really much you can do about it. So if you're Eternity, you need to make sure you guarantee this early game for Wolon, get him to evolve as quick as possible into that Tyranitar, and really just start becoming a big threat in that early game. And you know, I love this play from T2, just having Snorlax running into the central area, causing issues for Delphox, because I think in a lot of games we're so used to seeing Delphox just get the easy central area last hits. But to contest like this, you're pulling resources away, aka other Pokemon, from the side lanes, and you're also preventing that central lane Pokemon from easily being able to assist the side lanes. And look at this! Oh
boy.
Man!
Hibachi now forcing that eject button. It will be the first KO of the matchup. Hibachi will come up ahead. This is going to be pretty huge for him.
It's massive, because there are so few Pokemon that are going to reinforce as quickly as the Dodrio. So just this play from T2 alone, it slowed down this early game progression for Eternity. Really smart play.
Exactly, and then they've already committed into having this low road to be on the defensive side, both to get a little bit more of an opportunity to at least wear down or steal some camps away from this Delphox that's been able to farm the midsection. So
I mean, the
late game
knockout,
onwards.
look, the knockout on the Braxian was big enough because
yeah.
you've slowed this Pokemon down. And not going to go down as of yet. Just surviving, but does finally go down. So again, second knockout on the Braxian, but they do get the punish on the Dodrio.
Herod, though, he's doing so much on this Talonflame, and we're already seeing 2 pickoffs in a row, and they finally get some scores. Things are evening out.
Yeah, and it's going to be really tough for them to catch the Talonflame as well. We don't see this Pokemon very often because it's literally a paper crane. You breathe on this Pokemon and it faints.
Sneeze on it.
You sneeze on it, you breathe on it, you do whatever you want. But this Pokemon, if you leave it unchecked, and if you take a look at the side of T2, they don't really have that many Pokemon that can easily deal with Talonflame.
Yeah.
It can go off. It's mobile. It does a lot of damage.
You can backcap if you want.
You can backcap as well, yeah. And you also have the Flame Sweep. That's an amazing move for pushing Pokemon off goal zones, away from objectives. So I'm really keen to see what other things Heron is going to be able to do with this, especially in that late game.
I do suspect that they do have a bigger teamfight priority as compared to T2, and they're hoping to snatch that great part away. Huge heavy slam, and they are clipping both Jandy as well as Woolen. They have to pull back. They have the center spare, but that opens up so much room for T2 to get those scoring done. And T2, they're banking on hopes that they could snowball this early game as time is of the essence, but Registeel is now being contested. There's not many members across T2 that is around the vicinity,
Ruin's
and they will have to let this one go. Ruin tried to start it off with a beam, and it will still be secured by the Talonflame.
Yeah, a little bit early there from Ruin, but unfortunately, you sometimes just can't get all the timings. So luckily for Eternity, they get that experience. This is important when you're running a Tyranitar lineup as well. Level 8, you're at the 6.5 minute mark, so you are well on your way to hitting that Tyranitar at a really good timing. And I'm curious for Eternity, once you hit the Tyranitar, what's the play? Are you just going to keep getting experience and getting ready for Rayquaza, or are you going to actually start fighting? Because they do have a pretty combat-heavy lineup.
Yeah.
They do throw the fireworks. Nice KO. Ruin actually getting taken out really quick. Nice eject, though, just to get Ajin out of there. And unfortunately, Delphox just not enough damage to get a secondary knockout, but they might just lose. The Snorlax here use the block just to have a little bit of extra shielding. They have enough damage. No!
Not enough. Just have the shield in time on the goal zone. Quite the clutch, I would say. And this is what Eternity wants. They want to apply the pressure, and they will continue to fight on. And Woolen's going to lead the charge. Not long before the Snorlax falls, as they will definitely have to find a way to pull through. Hibachi comes in, but they do not have the health bars to challenge. Altara Camp will eventually go down.
Oh, you gotta be careful. Oh, actually, that was a Unite from the Clefable. Gets a nice block, and look at that, pushing back the Slowbro, preventing him from getting the heals from his own Lissy. But luckily, he will be able to survive, and Snorlax, too low to join the fight, has to back up and reset. Talonflame causing issues in the front line. I mean, Eternity are doing really good. Tyranitar is actually finally fully evolved, so Woman comes in, Tyrannical Rampage, zoning out T2. Unfortunate that they couldn't get rid of that goal zone, but we are already starting to see the power of Eternity's team fight.
That's right, and they still managed to at least hold on, but it really required a lot of effort coming in from the Clefable, Mew, as well as the Snorlax. But how, when it comes down to an all-out brawl, when you're being clipped by Ancient Power, that could easily be reversed when they are not in the favorable position.
It's a Regi, so we're not going to be seeing any aggressive or defensive bonuses. And look at that, though, Sajun taking so much damage. Actually going to be going for the grab, though. Really nice grab. That's going to be the Marchamp out of the picture. Dodrio is nowhere in sight, so it's a 3 versus 5 so far. Really nice power nap there from the Snorlax to prevent any chase on the side of Eternity. We do have a backstab coming in from that Dodrio, but look at that big fireball in his face. You do not want to be anywhere near that Delphox.
Yeah, he's got to speed up for the time being, hoping to actually get some scoring done.
Back. Oh my goodness, is he going to turn things around? Really big Unite. So far, no KOs. That's going to be a steal on the right side. T2, they get the buff for themselves. That's going to be wasted time for Eternity, and 3 Pokemon are out of the picture. Make it 4. And Talonflame can only watch as they lose their goal zone.
It's just a great display of teamwork coming out of T2, where they basically took a lot of time have this big wraparound, and they were distracted by the draw drill where the Delphox had already committed into chasing. Now that the Delphox is gone, most of the damage numbers were not there, and therefore T2 sees this as an opportunity to just snatch it away. Very well done. Now they are about 130 over points up ahead, but there is still going to be opportunities for Eternity to still find a couple of windows.
Yeah,
But now they
it's
just
not
really have
over.
to stabilize.
Yeah, it's really not over for either team at this point, right? Because here's the thing. You're a team that currently has a point advantage. Oh, hang
Hauta?
on, Marcham. Oh! Not quite,
Oh, he's
but,
got to get out.
but the good news is he did force out the fireworks, so that's not going to be available for a little bit. That could be an opening for T2 to maybe consider jumping onto Eternity here. Really big solar beam there onto the Talonflame. Will steal a berry. Flame Sweep there to pull one Pokemon back. It's going to be the Marcham. Oh no, out of the picture. That's going to be one Pokemon down. Big solar beam there onto Seijun. He's just going to forget he took that damage altogether. Amnesia, just a broken ability. And Tyranitar going to start working on that Regieleki. Dodrio still in the center of the map, just farming up wild Pokemon. It's like, guys, it's okay. We are currently in a pretty good position.
Yeah,
It's
Heron
okay.
was in such a superior position as well, and he had that Flame Sweep to be used so effectively to just zone off everybody else. And that one pick off itself will deter the rest of T2 from getting anywhere close at the same time.
Yeah, I think you also kind of have
Yeah.
to take it too, because if T2 takes it,
Yeah.
that's another objective you have to deal with, right? So
Exactly.
you have to deny it.
But at the same time, we even see this Dodrio free farming onto the
Look, it's
opposing side.
Contra, it's
Yeah.
level 14. That
Level
is
14,
a
it's
scary
ridiculous.
Dodrio.
Like, he just had so much of that spacing that now T2 really has to be very wary of those backtaps, and they can't leave it unchecked. Rayquaza now online, and it's really boiling down to this golden team fight.
Yeah, it's going to be the team fight. We also see Dodrio in the bottom section of the map, trying to see if he can get a backstab though. Nice pushback onto Seijun, but again, Slowbro is just not a Pokemon that you want to be focusing on in these team fights. Look at that though, really nice backcap there from the Machamp, but two Pokemon are going to go down on the side of T2, and look at that triple trample, just not going to connect from that Dodrio. They do get a knockout there onto the Delphox, and so far both teams have casualties. Tyranitar goes down. That's a big loss on the side of Eternity. Neither team able to safely contest for Rayquaza, and again there's another one down. Talonflame taken out of the picture, and so far look at this. T2 are looking good. They've got everyone back onto the field. Seijun is all alone. Oh no, you do not want to lose your Slowbro here.
Keep an eye out for Hibachi, though. He's already maxed out at level 15, and
1
he's just
minute.
going to apply a little bit more pressure. The rest of Eternity being held back. They really desperately
Have
need
to push through.
secure the Rayquaza, and they don't really have much time left. And they're just zoned away, T2.
Look,
It's just playing mind games with them.
Contra, I think if you're Eternity, you got to just be like, guys, we got to YOLO. We've got 45 seconds to go. It's either do or die. And if anything, it's time to do it. But can Eternity even make it happen? A beautiful power nap catches out two big Pokemon, all on his own inside the Rayquaza pit so far. He's at a half
30
health
seconds.
though. Can he get healed up though? He needs to be supported by his support. He needs the heals, but no. Pokemon are melting. T2 just asserting dominance in this team fight. They don't care if you have that Tyranitar. They've got damage, they've got health, they've got healing for days.
And they definitely want to thank Eternity for leashing onto that Rayquaza, and they still got it in return and to extend their lead, and they will dunk every single point to close off their final series. T2 went up close against Eternity, but will be the one to run the extra mile to secure this series.
Yeah, they've secured essentially at this point that second spot for now, right? T2, they've got the points, they're in second spot, they're feeling pretty happy about themselves. They've got to be so glad that they won that series, because they don't need to go through another best of one, because that's what would have happened if Eternity was able to take this series. Actually, no, T2 would, I think they were almost guaranteed. Man, the points are messing with me, but congratulations to T2. They did great.
They
That's what
did
I'm gonna say.
absolutely great. And Wolon, I think like he has so many ideas. Same goes to the rest of Eternity, where Heron had so many great potential pickoffs throughout the course of the run.
It was a
But
tough game.
Yeah, it was so tough because like you have so much on your plate. It is very execution heavy on the Pokemon that they brought forward, where you get priority on that team fight, but at
Yeah.
the same time, when the back caps are happening, when you also need to apply pressure on your own, here Heron had so much going on that he needs to decide on the fly to join the team or not join the team, or do you deal with Hobachi, and then you have Hobachi who left the team B. He just does story things. Just got so much excess EXP to the point that nobody could have catch up to speed. He's level 15. Look at the rest of Eternity. They're on 13. So when it comes down to the fight for Rayquaza, I felt like they weren't able to contribute enough damage numbers to even deplete either members of the party of T2. So they held on so long, and I just really love how Supercell just break wall down from getting anywhere close.
Yeah, Supercell is probably a really big MVP for T2. I think he did a fantastic job just being that front wall for his team and basically saying to Eternity, you shall not pass. Literally, you shall not pass, right? He would just take a nap. He's like, I'm just going to have a snooze here. You wait here as well. If he sees them move, he'll just flip on over. It's like, nah, stay here with me. So he did a great job just pushing Pokemon off objectives, keeping necessary Pokemon in place as well. We saw this multiple times, especially around those major objectives. And this is actually one of the issues that you have to deal with when you're playing melee Pokemon around a Snorlax. If you're melee and you're going to be right next to some of these Pokemon, you have to realize, like, okay, Heavy Slam's going to be a thing, Block is going to be a thing, Power Nap is going to be a thing. How are you going to offset this disable? Do you have enough burst to say, okay, you're going to stun me, but when I'm not stunned, I'm just going to KO somebody? We didn't really ever run into that issue with Eternity. Their whole comp was a sustained comp. Tyranitar, yes, he can delete Pokemon, but he needs to be on top of Pokemon to delete them. And you can't do it with a Snorlax.
And you have such a wide spread between members of T2 where you don't expect to be anywhere close to the Mew, where the only two members that you are facing off against is like Snorlax as well as Clefable. And when you pair those two, it felt like it takes an eternity, literally. To even...
Wrong team, but you know what I mean?
Take those shields off, take those healings off. And by then, you have everybody else running across to get your members. And then it's just quite disheartening for the members of Eternity, where they were having their backs against the wall. They couldn't even breach through the halfway mark. They were trying to cut across into this Rayquaza pit. Just look at this trying to go, and especially when you don't have your Unite move, like, you're just trying to squeeze your way in throughout. And how many slams did he connect out there, Supercells?
I'd love to see like an accuracy meter to show like how many Pokemon did he hit with Heavy Slam, because I think every single time he would just land onto somebody. I think that also something I want to bring up as well was Eternity's choice for Talonflame. Now, I'm not criticizing them saying like it was a bad pick, but I think this game was a good example on what makes Talonflame not so desirable in the current meta. At this point of time, I think a lot of people are going to say it gets outclassed by a lot of other speedsters. Its damage is good. It's squishy. It doesn't really have as much of a defensive way of protecting itself. It did have Fly, but we didn't really get to see much from Heron because there was just no openings.
That's right. And that now, of course, that itself has concluded this entirety of the series, where T2 definitely took a big gasp of air, and this is going to be them being relieved as they have acquired a total of 9 points after taking on all the other 4 teams. So they are currently on that second seed. Now,
this is guaranteed. This is actually guaranteed, right? So wait, no-show, 5, 6,
no-show
7.
At the maximum, they would be able to just try to sustain on that third placement. And therefore, T2 will be having that advantage in that bracket. So third spot will at least guarantee you a little bit more of that safety net. So I wonder now, Secret Ship, they have got a lot to do on this upcoming bracket.
Okay, now that I looked at the bracket, I don't think that we're going to be seeing any more potential tiebreakers.
I believe so as well.
Yeah, so at this point, we might almost just be looking at what we're going to be seeing, right? So now we're taking a look at our final set of the day, Secret Ship. They could tie with Eternity, but let's be real, it kind of doesn't matter, right? Because both 4th and 5th seeds they're going to have to play up against each other anyway during the second phase of the competition. So going up for Secret Ship doesn't really matter. And unfortunately for No Show, even if they win their series, they're only going to get up to 8 points.
And that's just 1 point short for contesting on that second seed itself.
Exactly.
So T2 did the great work, and it was quite the massive comeback. I mean, when we take a look at Game 1, they got their Rayquaza stolen. Game 2, they stole it back and then tied the series, and they have definitely gotten this huge chance to just secure the entirety of the round, and they did very convincingly so on the past match.
I think during the second phase, I think teams need to think about just getting rid of the Dodrio. Right? I think T2, they did so much with Hibachi's Dodrio. The fact that he was able to just pressure all over the map, score points for free, was more or less uncontested. He was able to join in the fights after doing it as well. His team, they did a really good job at just not getting all knocked out whilst Hibachi was doing his thing on the other side of the map, right? They were really great at self-preservation and making sure that when they do end up in a fight, it's either everyone is there or Hibachi is almost there. So they're almost going to be ready to jump into like a full 5-on-5. And even then, Hibachi was more of just a backstabber, right? He wasn't like coming in from the front. He was always trying to get into the squishies, coming into the side in an unexpected position to catch Pokemon off guard.
Exactly, and he definitely is the MVP of the matchup, if ever the case, for the past 2 rounds. Of course, everybody did contribute into the success of what T2 had in their run. And, you know, T2, they start off really rocky throughout the course of the league, but I'm glad to see them being back on track, as this team has been one of the most esteemed team of trainers that we've seen from the WCS, and even before that. I just want to see how much more can this team thrive when we get to the main event itself.
Yeah,
where,
exactly.
Of course, even before the main event, they still have to play through at least one series in order to qualify for the ACL finals.
Yeah, I do want to remind all our viewers that if you're wondering what's sort of happening with the teams right now, so High Five have more or less guaranteed their spot to the LAN finals in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. They're 12 points, which means they're first seed. First seeds from every single region automatically qualify for the LAN finals. It's just that second spot that the remaining 4 teams need to battle over, and that's what the next phase is for. The teams are being seeded into the next phase. So yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens here, I suppose, for East Asia. I'm really excited to see this final battle before we do go off into the playoffs. The playoffs are not today. For anyone that's a little bit confused, like, hey, when are we doing the playoffs? This is gonna be next week. So the teams have a week to get ready for the last hurrah, really, for that final spot.
Exactly, and once again, let's remind the audience out there currently watching. So, trainers, if you've been tuning in for the first time, once again, the teams that are positioned lower on the standings will start off day 6 on, and they will have to climb their way up. Every series from the 4th seed versus the 5th seed, they will have to win their games to meet up with the higher seeding teams. And therefore, we've already confirmed a couple of teams that have been able to be seeded higher. So namely, High Five, number 1.
High Five number 1, and I think at this point T2 are guaranteed second seed. So we've already basically got the teams locked in for day 7. Day 6, I think we basically locked this in as well. We're not really looking at any other tiebreakers. I don't think it's physically possible to tiebreak for 3rd anymore. So I think some people might say like, oh, this last game doesn't matter. Well, it kind of does. We want to see it play.
Yes, we want to see big plays happen, and at the very least, to gauge what the power level is like, because when you go into the gauntlet runs of Stage 2, you definitely want to keep an eye out on certain things when it comes down to execution, because you want this to be flawless so that no teams, when they look back at the VODs, could punish you for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can even try and use this opportunity to do some like crazy stuff if you really wanted to. But speaking of crazy, we're not quite sure if we're going to be getting that, but we are getting information that the trainers are loading into the lobby. So while that happens, we are going to go for a quick break. So as always, if you have to go to the toilet, drinks, snacks, do it now, but make sure you're back in 5 minutes before we jump into our last game of the day.
Meiji Almond Chocolate boasts the highest quality, only attainable by Meiji. Our professional staff painstakingly pick out each almond with their eyes and hands. We give our uniform-shaped almonds a tantalizing aroma through direct flame roasting. For the perfect combination with almonds, we stick to the golden ratio with specially blended chocolate. Meiji almond chocolate is made with our devotion and passion, which have remained unchanged over the past 60 years.
welcome back to the Pokemon Unite Asia Champions League East Asia. You're here alongside me, Contra, as well as Danley as your casters for the entirety of the final day of the East Asia first stage. And you know, it was an enjoyable game to witness where we finally see T2 secure the second seed. And you know what's even more enjoyable? Meiji Almond Chocolate.
Of course it's a Meiji, man.
I've been.
Oh wait, where's mine? Here
I've
we
been
go.
on this box on the entirety of the break, and I tell you what, I mean, they got
Oh, can't see it down here.
great
What if we put
ratio of chocolate, and
we
of
go.
course with the roasted almond that you can taste throughout your palate. They carefully selected these nuts,
Look.
handpicked it by themselves, and the milk chocolate, mind you, I've never tasted anything like this before.
Okay, firstly, trainers, what he's trying to say is that Meiji almond chocolate's really good. We both had it. He's no
I'm gonna have another
joke.
one.
No joke. Contra's been popping these off stream when we're not on camera. How many do you have left?
Just a few. I can prove it. Like,
How
half the
many-
box is gone.
It's actually gone. This man, I think mine is still pretty full because I'm trying not to binge too much on chocolate. For Contra, I mean, if I left my box, I think
I'm gonna
I
have
wouldn't see. You'd probably swap your box with mine and nobody would notice. Yeah, but seriously, guys, if you haven't already, Meiji chocolate, Meiji in general, not just the almond variants, but normal Meiji chocolate is legitimately good. I think we've both had like the normal chocolate blocks. So yeah, really good snap, really good flavor. The almond is actually wrapped in a layer and a thick layer of chocolate. It's not the like tiny little layer of chocolate and nut. It's a big thick layer. But aside the Meiji almond chocolate, let's talk about this next upcoming game, Contra, because it's our final game for the first phase of the competition. It's going to be between Secret Ship and No Show. Now, Contra, do you sort of want to walk through the situation for both of these teams on the leaderboard?
Yeah, and overall, as for Secret Ship, they're currently placed at the bottom of the table, and therefore, as much as when they do get the 3 points secured, they may not be able to climb further. Therefore, Secret Ship, they're definitely having maybe less stakes and less pressure, where they're just hoping to secure some wins in order to at least see how well could they actually hold on throughout the stage 2. And almost same could be same to be said about No Show, where they will already get themselves perhaps a
Third
third place
place,
finish.
yeah.
So of course, going through the entirety of their roster, we've seen Obuyan as well as Piyu to be some of the playmakers of the team, of course accompanied by Yakubari, Lizzie, as well as Yaku. As for No Show, they will have First Blossom, AB, Chobo, and Kikyu, as well as Sao to be playing alongside each other. And we've already seen a lot of great effort being displayed by First Blossom as well as Chobo throughout the course of the run.
Yeah, now let's take a look at Secret Ship before we jump into this final series of the day. So as Contra just said, right, this team is currently at the bottom of the bracket. They unfortunately haven't won any series yet, but today might be the day, right? Their opponent's going to be No Show. I think the goal here for Secret Ship, yes, unfortunately they can't climb higher than their current position. They can still try and fish for their first win, and I think that's going to be a really good hit for the team if you can grab that first win. It's going to help you when it comes to motivation. It's going to help you mentally going into the second phase, because the competition doesn't end here. They've still got the second phase to go through, and for all we know, Secret Ship, who is at the bottom of the bracket right now, they could end up being the team to go to the LAN final alongside High Five. We don't know.
Exactly, and so long as they do have a lot more plans to execute on the second phase of the tournament itself, they could potentially be able to pull off that miracle upset from the bottom to the top. So all of that being best of 3, and each respective team throughout the round robins have been able to at least get accustomed to the format. They should be able to at least hold their own, but we'll see how much can Secret Ship offer later on.
Yeah, now let's take a look at No Show, who's going to be the second team for this best of 3 series. Now for No Show, this team is currently sitting third on the leaderboard, and I mean, Contra and I, we did the math. There is nowhere else this team can actually move. Even if they secure a 2-0, a 2-1 series, they are still going to be sitting in third place. They are 1 point shy from possibly pulling off a tiebreaker for second place, which is super unfortunate. So if anything, for this game for No Show, it's essentially just going to be them to defend their honor, you know, to deny that win away from Secret Ship, and also maybe for No Show. Do they want to maybe get some practice in? Do they want to try some different Pokemon? Because we also have to remember, this is the second week where these teams are playing on the new patch. 2 weeks for a patch is still not enough time to really feel comfortable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I really want to add on their playing against one of the most innovative and creative teams, Secret Ship. And for Obuyan, he's been trying so many different Pokemons on top. He was the one to bring out a carry Blastoise onto the table, where you see the Hydro Typhoon just doing so much work throughout these team fights. Question is, are they going to stick to what they've already planned out for the past week itself? And as for No Show, I feel like they don't really want to reveal too many of their cards. Like,
they don't need to.
They really don't need to. And Eternity is waiting along the line, just probably watching some of the games. Could they possibly find ways that they could potentially punish these two respective teams once they get into the playoffs round of Stage 2?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, if we just take a look at the series, fans of Secret Ship, you're going to be cheering for this team to get their first win. For the other team, it's really defending their honor, you know, deny that win away, maybe again get that practice in on the new patch, try something new. Maybe they want to try the carry Blastoise themselves. Like, it's not a strat that's popular, that's common, and it's very unorthodox if you think about it, because it sort of goes against the whole defender. But I think Blastoise is one of the few defenders that kind of can scale in that regard. But Secret Ship and No Show, I'm looking forward to this series. I'm going to have a bit of a hot take. I think we're going to be seeing a full 3 games. I do think Secret Ship are going to give No Show a run for their money. And you know what? I think Secret Ship are going to win.
I also do have a gut feeling that there is a lot on the line for this team, because first of all, they're going up against some of the best out of East Asia. So despite them losing a couple of series, they are still the top 5 of the region, where there's so many trainers across the board where they've already proven themselves to be, of course, some of the best out there. So right now, you just really got to show what exactly makes you one of the best, especially from Japan, right? Like, Obuyan had a storied career of his esports run for the past couple of years, now joining into this Pokemon UNITE roster. I wouldn't say that he's on unfamiliar terms, but of course he's getting accustomed to the play style of the game as compared to, you know, so many others that he did participate in. And I think, like, overall his experience have shown, but they definitely need to gel well together. I felt like the couple of series that they played out, they still need to synchronize many of all their executions in order to be effective in these matchups.
Yeah, I kind of do agree, right? Especially for people that did catch their games as well. This team does need to sort of polish in the coordination department, maybe, right? Because sometimes it does feel like the team is a little disorganized. They're not all on the same page. Maybe one player is thinking of this, the other player is thinking of that. And especially when you're in a team setting, you need everyone to be on the ball together to understand who's going to be the primary objective. Are you aware of what you're supposed to be doing for the team? Are you going to be going forward together? Are we going to go backwards together? Is someone going to make the call and be like, hey guys, I think you're going to be fine. I'm going to try and back cap, assuming you're playing something like Talonflame or Dodrio, heck, even Scyther, to try and go for those sneaky plays. I mean, this game is so fast-paced, and it's really, look, guys, it's really hard to make these calls because you have microseconds to make these decisions. You can't camp for too long. You got 2 minutes around the Rayquaza.
Yeah, and you can only imagine when it comes down to team effort display, when it comes down to communication, you got to be concise. You got to be very, very on point with what you're saying. If you're saying do this objective, let's go for a back cap, you just got to quickly get to it, not even trying to think twice about it. And therefore, there's a lot of room for either success, or it could also be mistakes on those split seconds that can determine your victory by the end of the run. So with that being said, I believe we're getting ourselves ready for the entirety of the draft. So definitely final series of Stage 1. I'm looking forward to it. It's No Show and of course.
Secret ship. I'm really excited. I want to see some crazy business. Yeah, I don't care if it's the last game and maybe we get a 2-0. That'll be unfortunate. I'm still rooting for that 2-1. But I kind of want to see some crazy stuff. I want something
What
new.
kind of Pokemon exactly?
I don't know, because this is with two teams that can kind of play crazy. So it's like, I'm scared if I give them a wish list that maybe something else will happen, and I'll
Put
just
a
be like,
Buzzwole on board, put a Gengar that we've not seen for quite some time. Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
Have we seen Gengar at all? I kind of feel like no, we haven't.
I don't believe so. Perhaps there may be a game
I-
out of one regions.
I hate to be that person, but I feel like Gengar is just not viable in competitive play. Or you have to treat it as if it has everything. Like, you need to feed it, you gotta babysit it, you gotta toilet train, you gotta potty train. This is your baby. No. This is a bigger baby than Tyranitar, because
At least he can hold his own durability.
Even if you fully evolves, he's like, if he falls over, you gotta be there with the band-aid, you know? It's not like Tyranitar where this guy can get like roughed up and beaten up, you know? The Gengar is more of just like that little golden child you got to watch out for. But enough with the Gengar talk. We've got some pretty interesting stuff on the screen so far. We've got a Trevenant pick on the side of Secret Ship, and I'm always happy to see a tree. This Pokemon hasn't really been very popular, and one of the reasons for this is that he does self-sustain quite a lot. But that's kind of all he really does.
And when you take a look at Secret Ship, they're hoping that the best defense will eventually become their offense overall. Meanwhile, when No-Show sees this whole lineup, they're thinking, you know what? We're going to put those damage numbers with the Glaceon as well as 80 Slash. But Obuyan doubles down. He brings the Venusaur to the battle.
Oh no, it's going to be Pewee playing on the Venusaur. So Obuyan's actually going to be taking Tree this time. Alright, wait. Hang on, let me take a look. He's got attack weight on this tree. Is this gonna be, I mean, it's a Booyan, right? This guy's a brawler. He wants to be fighting. So, interesting decision. We're gonna be seeing a stacking tree on the side of Secret Ship. I mean, is it gonna work?
I really do wonder,
I'm scared, man.
I'm ready to be surprised by Secret Ship overall. No-Show going for something a lot more standard and competitive, where you will expect a lot of plays to happen coming in from Chobo to try to pick them up. And of course you have EP trying to burst them from afar.
Bro, I'm more worried about EP, okay? He's a gold ribbon Mew, which means this boy plays a lot of Mew.
Plenty and plenty of games, and that is what makes him shine the brightest when it comes down to getting your hands into being one of the best team of trainers out there, arguably globally.
In Korea.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious, like, would you consider him like the best Mew in Korea? We're not 100% sure. We do have some information going into our side. Now, apparently we do have a bit of an error going into this game, so we might be looking at a lobby remake here, so don't panic. We are going to be jumping into the game very soon. The draft mode is still a little buggy, so sometimes you do have to remake those lobbies, Contra, but you got to do whatever you got to do to make sure that the lobby is fair.
Yeah, and then let's hop out to the draft, if ever the case, right? Trevenant, Venusaur, I think, like, at least with these huge AoEs being layered upon, they do have ample of space to be created, especially when they are fighting for that late game battle on Rayquaza Pit. So,
you know, I kind of want to...
I guess, like, you could buy enough time until your opponent's weeder down.
Okay, here's the thing. I kind of saw a trend with their composition in general, right? So their team composition has a lot of self-sustain. They've opted for the Wigglytuff instead of actually going for classic healing supports, right? So there's no Clefable, there's no Blissey, there's not even an Eldegoss on the team. They've actually decided to go for shielding. And so what's the thought process here? Like, is this supposed to be a self-sustainable brawling lineup where you get into your opponent's face? Because that's kind of what I'm getting here.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, at the moment when it comes to Venusaur, players are still preferring Petal Dance over Solar Beam. Are we gonna actually see Petal Dance on the Solar, or is it Solar Beam? We don't know.
I think, like, whichever the case as well, like, if you really want to go more on the bursting department, then you will definitely want to look at that Solar Beam. But if you double down on whatever the team has already, it can either backfire or it could also turn out to be good where you have so much sustain to the point that maybe no show just decides, you know what, let's not fight these guys. We're not going to be able to actually take them out.
Well, I'm afraid because they don't really have any ranged Pokemon. The only ranged Pokemon they have would be Venusaur if he goes for Solar Beam. I'm not saying it's impossible. We can very much see Solar Beam on the Venusaur, but most of the time you're technically going to be seeing the in-your-face Venusaur, you know, steal all your health, fight me, pedal dance, rah kind of Venusaur thing. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that in this particular game.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep our eyes out in terms of which abilities will they actually get their Pokemons to learn.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, jumping on to No Show side, I feel like this is going to be quite the standard way that they want to play things through, and I am glad that they actually do so because they're not really showing too much of their hands before we get our way into the second stage. Other teams are also watching, just in case if they really want to find certain exploits of weakness out of what the team currently has. But for No Show, I think they have perhaps one of the strongest runs for many of the teams that we've seen. Sure, week 1 they did not manage to compete, but week 2 onwards, they made quite the splash going up against all these big teams.
Yeah, exactly. I do think we are still waiting for this lobby to be remade. We're not quite sure how long it's going to take as well, so I suppose since we have some time, if we can, it would be great if we could actually take a look at the overall standings to see where the teams are. And I'd like to sort of reiterate, I guess, to some of the viewers that didn't quite catch it, where these teams are going to be on the leaderboard. Apparently, we are resuming the game. All right, so
that's great.
We are not going to go to the leaderboard. We are going to be resuming the game in just a second. So that's good news for us. We are going to start seeing the game very soon. I just want to see what's going to happen with this Trevenant. You know, is it going to be a Booyan just going off? Because something I noticed with the Booyan, this guy loves defenders, and he likes to just brawl on defenders.
And this time around, I mean, compared to picks that he had, like Blastoise, or even what we've seen previously, Tyranitar, Trevenant can be a little bit more consistent on that department, right? Like you continue on to chase someone. And
it's just the damage department. This is definitely a Pokemon that's
lackluster compared to the rest.
Yeah, so you're not really going to get easy KOs, but he can be a nuisance. I think that's probably the best way to describe Trevenant, especially when he hits that late game critical mass where he's got all his health, all his abilities leveled up. And I do believe he'll be fine, so yeah, no full commitment from No Show because they just don't have the Pokemon to get that knockout. So luckily for Abuyan, he gets that first stack because remember, this is attack weight Trevenant. This is not very common, but I'm hoping it works though. So far Blossom doesn't get KO'd, lucky for him, so he's going to be fine. Was supported by the Glaceon, so it's good to see both teams sending both of their central laners into that bottom lane, wanting to make sure that they guarantee their Pokemon don't get knocked out early and they also get experience.
They definitely can rely on Lizzie to be the kingmaker of the early game. So long as they do get those huge picks, then they will be able to be onto something. Yaku drives directly for an NQQ. First one to be knocked out of the map. And that's where a Secret Chip starts off strong, immediately scoring a total of 56 points.
Yeah, they're going to be rotating Sal into the top lane as well. Wigglytuff makes an appearance. They do take some damage there from both the Mew and the Glaceon, but it's fine. It's a Wigglytuff. You know, Yaku is pretty tanky in his own regard. You know, you don't underestimate that Wigglytuff. Bottom lane though, look at this. Blossom just being such a big pain for these two Pokemon. Yes, you can't really stop them from scoring, but he can slow them down, reduce their attack, and possibly even just help contribute to some KOs here. Because look at them. They're
oh boy. Gotta pick up both of these berries to stay alive. And this is where Yakubari will need to respect a little bit more distance as this slow grow has already evolved, and will be able to at least wither them down slowly and steadily, whereas the rest of No Show, they will secure a little bit more advantage through the tower camp up mid, and also force this Wigglytuff to back all the way up into the goal zone. But
it's a Horn Leech Abuyan as well, so this man is going full on sustain in these battles. He's going to go for the Horn Leech resets, he's going to be able to just heal himself back up. Kind of excited to see a full team fight happen, especially with the lineup we're seeing from Secret Chip. I also want to see what's going to play here for Pewee, because he did go for the health steal. So is it going? It looks like it's setting up for Petal Dance. We don't know yet until he does skill that up. But we are seeing a very heavy push here on the side of No-Show. And with just 3 Pokemon and no dedicated healer, it's kind of difficult to actually do anything when you're just being zoned away like this. And Glaceon, the queen or king of damage, especially burst damage.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at First Blossom having 3 pokes of range. Yakubari with a heavy slam. This is where they do find a catch onto the Glaceon. And immediately dove onto EP as well. Secret Chip, they are winning these trades and they're looking to secure the Reggie Steal. And they will do so. Continuing on with the chase. And NQQ, next one to fall. And this could be a complete team wipeout.
It is.
Minus Chobo, and he could not even defend
oh my
at
gosh.
all.
Man, that man just got deleted. He tried to stop them. But we are already starting to see the power of this Scyther. Something we have to be very wary about for No-Show is that their lineup right now is pretty squishy, right? Mew can't really defend itself from a Scyther, neither can, especially Glaceon. This Pokemon, once it's used its dash, you kind of don't have anything else to work with, and Scyther is just too mobile, and it can absolutely delete a Glaceon. It's going to be the Petal Dance there onto the Venusaur. Evolves at the right time, but will still go down. But the most important thing is he did evolve. If he got knocked out before evolving, that would have really hurt.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it was just great timing for No-Show to at least get something in return. They won't get their hands onto the Lecky, though. They will continue with this hot pursuit. Obuyan now can sustain for himself, along with Wigglytuff to continue with the layers. There is Ippy so low, has to eject away, and Piu continues on the chase. How much more can they actually do?
Oh my gosh, the basic!
They both stayed alive.
That was so close. I think he ran out of range for the boosted basic attack. I'm not 100% sure, but that was so close. Venusaur could have gotten a double KO there. Meanwhile, top lane, though, we're seeing a big battle here, and so far Secret Ship are causing a lot of issues here for No-Show. They even used the Wigglytuff Unite to give them that extra shielding, but it looks like they're going to run out of all the shielding, so they will have to abandon the Reggie Alecki, although Abuyan's still here. Maybe just going to be a pain. That's what he's good at. In the meantime, though, we get some scoring there in the bottom lane from the Venusaur.
And I just love this brick wall comp, right?
It's literally brick wall, man.
The likelihood for you to just run into the goal zone and just be undeterred is going to happen. So No-Show is struggling to defend, where you have to manage your resources, and they are currently behind.
Their team is tanky, right? Like, you've got Tree, you have Venusaur, and you have Snorlax, and you have a Wigglytuff that's going to give you extra shielding, and that beautiful power nap is just going to let Secret Ship take the objective from themselves. Yeah, maybe they lose Jakubari here, but no, eject button, he's okay. Heavy Slam out too! It even landed on the Aegis Slash.
Please.
Liz is like, I'm just going to score, guys. Thank you for the 50.
He just got like 4 members body slam.
But they're going in.
Continue to do so. This is where they draw a huge line. No-Show at least having, if he to go in first night, Chobo's got to run for her to heals. But they're just being pincered off. What can you do? There's just no way to take Secret Chip down. My goodness gracious. Ippy, you got no business doing it, but they will try to blast him off, and finally enough damage coming out of the Mew.
Man, that was a chaotic fight in that bottom lane, but we're already starting to see the craziness, which is the Horn Leech reset on the Trevenant. If you're caught for the full duration Horn Leech, that's actually a really long disable. Not only is it going to displace you into wherever he's Horn Leeching, but you can't move. You're stuck there. The Trevenant is also healing at the same time, which means you got to figure out a way to actually either prevent the Horn Leeches from connecting or just bursting him. Now, the burst is kind of there for No-Show, but you also have to remember, you have to burst down a Venusaur, you have to burst down a Snorlax. Unfortunately for Venusaur, they're going to be caught in the front lines, and Scyther almost going down. Looks like it will. Beautiful catch there on the side of No-Show. Alecki even going into the goal zone.
No-Show's getting their power spikes online already, and Secret Chip need to start respecting the output that's coming not only from this Glaceon, but this Mew and Aegislash could still hurt them if they are not having any form of stacking coming in from the rest of the members of Secret Ship, right? You need the Wigglytuff to be around. This Trevenant can't do it all by himself. Very much self-explanatory of what we saw on how Obuyan handled that sort of situation. Despite that, though, now 20 over seconds before we get ourselves into Rayquaza, and there we go, heavy slam onto the tree, but immediately pulls back with the eject, but they're fighting for this Regirock, and No-Show sees a clearance.
Wow, Regirock actually did a lot of damage to the Venusaur as well, and the team just not feeling confident abandoned the objective. I would have loved to see them fight it, but they had to make the right play, right? I think if Venusaur didn't take that really big fat rock nuke from the Regirock, it could have been different, but now we have the defensive buff on the side of No-Show, and I'm a little bit worried here for Secret Ship because this late game, it's Booyah?
Wow.
He's going in himself and he's like, guys, I don't care, I'm tanky, but actually you should care. Your team doesn't have any self-sustain. It's basically just going to be him, but so far the team is looking to do it. Nice big power nap in the front lines. Glaceon is down, that's going to be a lot of damage, and Aegislash going down as well. It's just going to be 3 Pokemon left on the side of No-Show, and nobody's knocked out. First Pokemon to finally go down on the side of Secret Ship, but it's just the Wigglytuff. It doesn't really matter as much.
AP is just being such a nuisance and the pain towards the rest of Secret
And
Ship.
look at this.
While Lizzie is slowly shredding the health bars of Rayquaza and will cause him to
Oh
faint.
my
And
goodness.
Secret Ship is running away with a game where they will be finding ways to get these points running. 100 from Gakubari.
And
Can
look
they
at-
get more? And there you go. Over on top side, Lizzie scores another 100.
I love it, Booyah. He's like full on stealthing. He's like, I'm going to go on the very edge of the map so I don't lose my shield, and he's going to score that 100. I mean, it really didn't matter. The rest of his team, they were able to just completely roll over, bulldoze, demolish No-Show. Okay, I was caught completely off guard from, let's face it, Contra, it was a full-on tank lineup from Secret Ship. They, no standard healer, you have a fat tree, a fat Snorlax, a fat Venusaur, and you got a Wigglytuff that's going to make people even fatter. He's there to add on those extra pounds, make him extra tanky, and No-Show just didn't have enough damage to cut through the fat.
Yeah, and on top of that, Lizzie is the only one that is having the biggest burst damage output out there. So you still will have to keep an eye out for him while you peel through these layers. Just look at them go, just being indestructible. Secret Ship will finally steer their way to their first victory of the series.
You know, I almost want to call this the onion strat because there were just so many layers to Secret Ship's comp. You think you would deal with something?
The deeper the layer you go, the
No,
more
no.
tears you shred.
No, it's just like you go through and you're just like, wait, there's more? Like, there's another Pokemon? There's more stuns? Where'd you get this health from? I mean, look, it's chaotic. I love it. This was absolutely Secret Ship. I think this was a signature playstyle from this team. Not to say that they normally play like this, but they do play crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
And just look at the numbers coming from Pew. You already called it out perfectly, right? We got the pedal dance going right around. And
This in-your-face Venusaur.
this in-your-face Venusaur along with Lizzie kind of match in terms of the output that they did have. And then I think that No-Show was expecting Obuyan to be offering, a little bit more on the damage department because the past couple weeks he's been the one that to be having the highest output. But now with this equal distribution of responsibilities from Secret Ship, we start to see them celebrating successes. So it's definitely a good showing, and I can't get enough of it. I mean, if Secret Ship's gonna do so good on just tanks, imagine them going on the usual meta picks. Like, perhaps there will be good efficiency, but for now, stick to this creative draft. I like what I see.
Look, keep it going. I'm going to stay on this ship. This ship is a party, it's a party ship, a party bus. I don't know what you want to call it. And I think everyone in chat, everyone that's watching the games, they're having just as much fun as we are. But this definitely caught us off guard. I mean, we kind of saw it coming. We saw that they had a lot of Pokemon that wanted to be in your face in the front lines. You had the Wigglytuff as well to add the extra shielding, as well as even the resistance reduction there as well on the Sing. I do believe it was the Sing Wigglytuff. So it's like you're even supplementing the tanky strat by saying like, hey, I'm going to lower the resistances. You are going to do extra damage. So the synergy was definitely there for Secret Ship's lineup. Like the composition worked. It's just, I think No-Show, they were definitely surprised, I think, when they saw these Pokemon pop up. And maybe they felt a little bit too confident in their lineup because they did have two really heavy hitting, long range damage dealers in the Glaceon and the Mew. But I don't think they realized how big these Pokemon are going to get on Secret Ship.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think there was only that one particular team fight over the top end where they have find that opening where Secret Ship, once they are not together, things are easily managed. But when you are pit into choke points as such, when you're battling for control over that Rayquaza, you see everyone was all over the place, and this is where you will have Scyther to be able to try, because he cuts around these corners, and then when they're isolated, you also do have Secret Ship congregating once again. So it's hard to deal with this, especially it's difficult to continue that chase against that Scyther when you have so many crowd control to stop you on your tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to point out, we did see that clip just now. The fact that Secret Ship actually managed to peel everyone away from the Blissey and the Slowbro. The whole point behind these two Pokemon is that you want to be there to heal, assist, stun, make sure your damage dealers are safe. But those two Pokemon got caught out by a power nap. They couldn't move.
Yeah.
So that left Mew exposed, that left Glaceon exposed, that just left the entire team exposed. And you're up against a Scyther. This is a Pokemon that wants to jump onto those those exposed lonely targets, and there's really not much you can do.
Yeah.
So execution-wise as well, I mean, you got to give props to Secret Ship where it's due. This team, they executed their lineup, they prepared their lineup, they did everything right that game.
Yeah, and I definitely do see that shift of changes in terms of how Secret Ship plays this one out, right? Like back then, it was a lot of pressure on Obuya needing to set up plays for the team and consistently deal as much as possible. Now, with that equal distribution, now at least he does get the limelight in return for them to at least come up with this sweeper strategy, I call it, where you just basically, okay, clean up crew, names. We're just gonna pave the way, all right?
The janitor's here.
Yeah, all right, we've already secured the top side, let's clean up the bottom as well. And then, hey, Rayquaza, okay, I think jump stun. And by the end, you secure it and just got plenty of points back. As for no-show, sure, we may not have touched too much upon it. I felt, honestly, what else can be done when you just have, you know, some of all these early level power spike to be on tankier Pokemons where you can't easily knock them out, and then you still have to continue to contest for some of all these resources on the map where they could also continue to trade right back. So it was definitely very annoying to deal with, but I think they need to bring in the Delphox this time around to change things around.
Yeah, Delphox would have been a pretty interesting choice as well, because Delphox is one of the only Pokemon that can actually reduce healing, right? The entire composition relied on self-healing, right? Venusaur would heal itself, Snorlax can heal himself, Trevenant heals itself, Wiggly, not so much, but you have the shielding, so that's like another form of self-preservation. So like the entire team had some kind of, and Scyther even, Scyther even can preserve itself, right? It's got Life Steal, so yeah, the whole composition, Delphox, I don't think it would have completely shut down the strat, but it does help against it.
To make it at least a little bit more manageable, especially when you understand that they're going to clump up fireworks on top of all these areas, that will actually give you ample space to work things out with all these attacks that you can basically set up.
I think they also just didn't expect to go up against this kind of comp. Guys, who seriously?
Who does this on competitive, right?
Yeah, but it's Secret Ship. Secret Ship does it, they make it work. And I think it's that surprise factor as well that just sort of worked in their favor. Because if I went up against, that kind of composition in a ranked game, I'd be sitting there in the loading screen thinking, what in God's name am I playing against? And I'd probably underestimate it because I'd be like, oh, they got so many defenders.
Yeah, let's go. We got the damage. Apparently not enough damage by the end of it all.
Yeah, so sometimes you just have to expect the unexpected, and then sometimes you're just going to be surprised by things, right? Not everyone is going to have access to last pick. Game number 2 is ready though, so let's jump into the draft and see what else is in the pipeline here for Secret Ship. Are they going to keep going with this really self-preserving tanky draft, or are they going to go all crazy and be like, it's time for speedsters?
Perhaps that might just be something that will throw a curveball against No-Show again, but No-Show should have preparations of their own. I think EP did really well on that past match.
Yeah, Mew's
especially
fine.
This Mew has done ample of the numbers from the past round. So for Secret Ship, I believe what we're seeing here is them running it back, but they do have the slow bro here alongside with Fable so that they can basically mark onto this targeted Scyther. We do assume them to evolve. No difference whatsoever. Secret Ship says, okay, we won that game fair and square.
Why change? You know,
don't need to change.
You don't need to change.
I want to see the Delphox though for no show. I feel like it's necessary.
Or they're
even
gonna
better.
get calm down, calm down. Wait, is it going to be the Greedent? I don't know if Greedent's a Pokemon you kind of want against this kind of comp, but okay, they're gonna counter with their own defender. Now, I kind of want to say there is a bit of an advantage here for no-show, right? Because they do have Clefable. This is a Pokemon that gives you heal. Gravity is going to be an issue as well, especially up against the more mobile Pokemon on the side of Secret Ship. So this is not going to be a simple rerun, but at least no-show are going to be prepared going into this next game.
Yeah, and what essentially this Greedent does in this particular match is to apply the same style of pressure this Dodger does, so long as he can continue to do so and just take some resources and also delay some of all these evolution from Secret Ship. Things actually could have worked out if it were no show, especially now. More damage numbers from Carnivore. We like that.
I don't think this is going to be an invading Greedent as much as I would love to see it, just because Scyther is just... You don't invade Scyther. Like, that's not a Pokemon you want to run into. But I think if you're Secret Ship and you do see that Greedent, you do need to think, all right, is this Greedent going to cause us issues? And I kind of feel like in this game, not really, because who are you going to be engaging as this Greedent? There's no Pokemon aside from Scyther that's easy to take down, and even then, Scyther is going to be... It's not like it's easy to run away from Greedent, but it's one of the better Pokemon when it comes to evading Greedent chasers. So yeah, I want to see what Chobo does with this. Maybe he has a plan with this Greedent that to catch Secret Ship off guard with. He's gonna start stacking first.
Yeah, and I believe there will be a little bit more that response. Oh, he steals it away.
That's big.
5 points. And I think they managed to also equalize in return, especially Obuyan pushing very far forward. Blossom's got to eject away and will be able to get back into safety. Where for this Greedent, I believe as much pressure as you can put onto either Obuyan or even find ways to delay this window for PU to evolve, that's going to be at least working out for that early game plan. Chobo should be safe, got the shield coming in from the goal zone. This tug of war that we're looking at here seemed to be them trying to find that opening window for them to secure a slight advantage. And speaking of which, Secret Ship takes the entire camp for themselves.
Not 100% sure if they actually saw the Scyther coming in there, but well, yeah, I'm going to see that dive coming in there from Secret Ship. First K-Girl is just going to be onto the unevolved Clefable. Not going to be able to do much as a little Clefairy here. Bit unfortunate. Chobo, though, has evolved, so he is going to have some extra mobility. He's going to have those berries. And, I mean, we're not going to see too much from him as of yet. He does want to get his second move before he decides to maybe rotate out of the lane, maybe try and steal some of the enemy jungle just to try and get those Pokemon out of Secret Ship's corner, because that's one of the things that you can do with the Greedent. You pressure by going into the central area of your opponent's side, take those Pokemon for themselves, you can score it, you can do whatever, but most importantly, you are denying that experience away. Although for this middle fight though, big Solar Beam actually doing lots of damage onto Secret Ship, and they do get one KO. It's going to be the second one here onto Yakko. That's big for No-Show.
Yeah, and No-Show, they definitely found that formula. You just basically stack together and you will have literally a blast. Obuyan's got to give way, got the Cephas Berry, and will be able to survive. But plenty of points, 5 more to break open the top end of the goal zone. And it's already 120. They got to keep up the speed. Secret Ship.
Eject though, they will just be able to get out at me. Oh, just on a sliver of health is going to just survive. Oh, they stuck around! Big mistake there from Epe though. The fight continues. Obuyan coming in with those big horn leeches, but look at Gardevoir just doing damage onto Obuyan. He's not down yet though. This tree is immortal, does finally get knocked out. But you got to be careful here on that Scyther. You are very squishy and very, very likely for the Greedent to maybe chase. But luckily, we'll live for now. Oh boy, these fights are much closer compared to last game, Contra.
Yeah, No-Show at least identified what's the target here. And for now, Yaku is already in position, still hoping to find other catches. He don't want to commit to first Blossom just yet, but Obuyan's only him off. and they will force the Mew to back away while they secure this. Reggie's still on back, and oh my word, the damage!
The fairy singularity. Unfortunate that they actually didn't get the objective there, but you got big KOs on the Gardevoir. But look at this though, look at Scyther looking to get the KO. Sal is gone. And even the Mew as well. So nice counter knockouts there on the side of Secret Ship, but still very painful though, Contra.
Yeah, and just like that, look at Leezy's damage. Just overwhelming. Not even Clefairy could actually do anything about it. You saw Mew had a lot of health. Nothing left after that. Now, Secret Ship is playing catch-up, and they are now up ahead. Therefore, you got that Registeel that also helped them amplify some of the stats that will be able to contribute to the mid-game.
Yeah, I think it was just really, really good that they were still able to get the objective. You got the experience, the buff, although Liz also needs to be quite mindful of his positioning, right? Because he is the sole damage dealer, like the big damage dealer on the side of Secret Ship. They really need him to catch out the Gardevoir. Really nice Unite there from the tree, but is there going to be any follow-up? Nice catch up to the Mew! Oh, the Horn Leech, the resets. They even catch out the Greedent as well. It's going to try and damage with the Bullet Seed. Gardevoir's here though, Sal doing big damage on the guard, but is it enough? They just gets deleted again by that Scyther, and another Pokemon goes down. Clefable going to be knocked out. Unfortunately for Greedent, you might be tanky, but you're not tanky enough, my boy. Big Solar Beam, no knockouts, trying to slow down the scores, but Secret Ship, they don't feel a thing.
Yeah, and Secret Ship identified very quickly, like, sure, this Chobo can buy as much time, but the moment they spot out the rest of the team, switch the target, like there's no point focusing on the Greedent anymore, and they just basically cleared everybody in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think this is the second time that we saw Secret Ship just dogpiling onto Sal when Sal appears. And it's a really tough game for Gardevoir as well, because you don't really have too much in the way of protecting your guard. You have a Scyther that just jumps right on top of you. You have a tree that is immortal. You can't get rid of it. And you also have to be wary of the Snorlax. You get hit by a bad Heavy Slam, and that's it. You don't get a reset.
Oh, here we go. Another team fight breaks loose. Yaku just zoning off Ippy from joining into the fray. And Obuyan, as well as Lizzie, they're falling flat pretty low. Gotta make a little bit more room for themselves. While NQQ pulls back as well. They will have Yakubari creating a little bit more room. And he's still having high health bars. Both sides contending very early on. And finally, Lizzie as well as Obuyan shows themselves yet again as they chase onto Ippy. They will knock out the Mew.
Wow, this tree is just an absolute nuisance for No-Show. They just can't get rid of him. Where is the tree killer? They just gotta get rid of Obuyan, but they just can't do it at all. This man, he's just leeching everything off of everybody, Contra. I cannot believe it.
I couldn't believe it either. And like what you said early on, the onion theory, the layering. We saw the health bars are low. Hey, doesn't matter. I got that sustain. I'm going to heal back up. I can last for days and days, and Secret Ship making No-Show feel like this is an eternity of a matchup that they will have to play.
Literally, although it's not eternity the team, but just the game in general. But on the side of No-Show, they're just really struggling to take these team fights. They don't have enough to burst down Obuyan. They don't. I mean, technically, they have been struggling to burst Pokemon down in general. There's just so much tankability on the lineup. They also have to be mindful of where the Scyther is, so you can't just simply go in there and throw nukes in as a Gardevoir. Even Mew is quite vulnerable to just getting instant knocked out by this Pokemon.
Yeah, Pewee now.
And actually, Contra, I want to sort of talk about this this Greedent pick, right? Like we saw this in the drafting phase, and I mean, is it really doing anything for this comp?
I don't think it really mattered all too much, because the way that it was being played out, it didn't really disrupt that early game tempo. He didn't really create enough pressure in order to have this Greedent to pull Secret Ship to go on an overtime to race around the map. And I also give props to Secret Ship because they're not falling prey to some of all these shenanigans as well. So no areas to backcap.
Yeah.
That's also another thing to factor in.
I was thinking, do you start transitioning your Greedent to the Dodrio style of play? Like you just start backcapping, right? You force Secret Ship into an awkward fight. We've got 2 minutes on the clock, Contra. So if it's the time to come back, it's got to be now. And No-Show needs to win this matchup. Now they do get a 96 pointer in that top lane, but Okay, they are leading.
Wow.
Can they keep the lead? That's the most important thing. But if they lose Chobo here for free, this wouldn't feel good at all.
Oh, the positioning has to be better where
They
No Show
found
is just
Sal.
hitting them. They find Sal stuck in the corner. What could they possibly do? Could she eject out of there to guard for her?
Oh, the
after something?
solar beam!
Oh my goodness! Obuyan could have actually scored, but they will continue on. And with everybody committing to this, they will get that catch. And everyone gets caught out! No Show turns it around!
Oh my god, Sal, he gets the Unite of a lifetime. And is this the opening that No Show needed? Because remember, Contra, they are still leading. Abuyan didn't score those points in the top lane, and we've got a minute left to go. Now, the thing is, Scyther cannot afford to go down there. They need Liz for this fight. We've got Snorlax just dashing into the top lane here. Now, Pokemon are very low on the side of No Show. The steal potential is possibly there. They are going to lose Liz, though, and the shielding goes into No Show. Now, step number 2 for comeback. It's happening, Contra.
It has
Secret
to.
Ship, they've lost control.
And they do have a lot of areas to work with, especially with the first goal zone still up and standing on the bottom.
They've
No
done
Show have done it with Sal's massive fairy singularity to be the game changer of this matchup. And Secret Ship, they were all bruised up. They were all scattered across. I was concerned because they overextended, and that shouldn't have been ever the case where you just set things up perfectly for No Show to blast them off.
I am in shock, but we do need to acknowledge that Secret Ship, you know, we can understand the play, wanting to dogpile on Sal. You want to get rid of that Gardevoir as fast as you can. But you have to consider, if you don't get rid of that Pokemon fast enough, she's going to whip out the ace in the hole. She's going to throw that Unite down. Your entire composition relies on Pokemon that want to be in your face. That's the perfect setup for an amazing Unite. And Sal?
As a Gardevoir player, this is a Gardevoir main's dream, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
This is that highlight of the day.
Yeah.
And if anything at all, Sal just doing probably the unthinkable right here.
I need to see it again. I have to see it again because that was such a big singularity. It was perfect. It was on the mark. It caught everyone that it needed to. And Sal just literally flipped the table. He was like, guys, I am done. Throws the table onto the other side of the room, and he just goes into monster mode. He threw the onion against someone. Was like, no, I'm not dealing with this anymore.
And I remember the scenes so clearly where Secret Ship saw, oh, guys, we've got this Gardevoir cornered up. This is our chance.
Exactly.
It's like, nope. That's where
gosh.
they turn the tables around.
I can feel my heart just beating against my rib cage. There was just such an insane play. And we do have the replays coming back up, so we are going to be seeing this big fairy singularity towards the end. But we have to also talk about this game in general. Secret Ship, they've really mastered this play style, right? They know the limits of their Pokemon. They know what they can, what they can't do. They understand that they are so resilient and so tanky that, especially if you just keep going, just keep running at No Show, they do eventually just run out of gas.
Yeah.
That's the first singularity. This is not the big one, but that is like a taste of what Sal can do if left unchecked. And we are going to see a big one later on.
Yeah, that itself has already given him sure confidence that when it comes down to team fights, they have what it takes to do so. So
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that, of course, we discussed about the Delphox picks, but it's definitely better when you have the Gardevoir to have that constant pressure at the very same time.
Hey,
still basically guard your own room.
Assuming that you are not knocked out, right?
Yeah,
Because that's one of the biggest issues with Guard. She doesn't really have a self-saving ability. No dash, unless you're running X speed or eject button on yourself. In most cases, you kind of don't want to run those items if you can afford to.
Yeah, and then you have this Clefable to also add on with gravity where sometimes you just couldn't really run off, so you just really have to take the brunt of the damage.
So we see this cancel was huge. The fact that Epe got that solar beam prevented the 100 points, and look at this. Watch this.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh my gosh. Solar beam is all just to make sure they got Obuyan. Oh my gosh.
Just stuff of beauties. No Show with that singular play of that very singularity,
Speechless.
it's like by then, like this Rayquaza almost did not matter because that play was just so immense that Secret Ship, they're dwindling in terms of numbers, and like for sure they have it in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, especially in those late games, right? Those multi-mon knockouts are so important, especially if you can immediately knock out 3 Pokemon during the last 2 minutes of the game. That is game changing. That is match flipping. There's a lot you can do with 3 Pokemon off the field. So just that play alone has managed to rocket the series to the full 3 games. Okay, I did sort of say, like, I'm hoping we're at 3 games. I'm a little bit sad that Secret Ship didn't get the 2-0 because let's be real, I think this team, they've been entertaining, they've been playing well thus far. They did have a couple hiccups so far. Game 3,
One more chance for them, though.
I'm still hoping that they win, but look, if No Show wins, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that this team still has that level of finesse or to offer when it comes down to this whole competitive circuit. We saw them having such a great start to their first match of their own series, and then they were also going up against the current top dogs of the league, and that's where they start to find a little bit of struggle, but they've always put close games in, and till the very end, Secret Ship makes this one so competitive that No Show will definitely have to have a little bit more sweat to be involved in that particular match, and now just hoping to secure this win in order for them to feel a lot more confident going into the second stage of the playoffs.
Yeah, so going into game 3, Contra, I want to pick your brain a little bit here because there's a lot of things that can happen in game 3, right? Are we going to see Secret Ship just continue running this in-your-face, self-healing composition? Because at this point, No Show knows what they're going up against. This is going to be the 3rd time they play against it. If these Pokemon get picked again, or do you think Secret Ship are going to be like, okay, pull out the card now. Here's that secret strat. Hang on.
Banning a Gardevoir isn't exactly the best viable choice because you can still go for so many other Pokemons that will be able to also have very similar concept of what you want to do. Just burst off everybody that's trying to sustain. I'm thinking perhaps there might just be switch up one Pokemon, one Pokemon in particular from the lineup of what Secret Ship feels. And maybe that itself, whatever the change would be, could have a big X factor.
So you just told me they're going to swap one Pokemon. I want to hear, who do you think would you actually remove from this composition?
I'm thinking that you don't necessarily need that sustain of the Trevenant because like you could still have other Pokemon to be able to do a huge amount of damage. And I don't mind if they really want to run it back to what they've shown us in the past couple of weeks, like a Tyranitar or heck, even a Blastoise. like maybe it's a big maybe, and I'm not too sure. Like now we're also looking at Obuyan seemingly to have a certain favorite in terms of how he likes to play. Somebody that can hold his own on these very flashy type of offensive plays and not rely on anybody else. But on that, I can't really pick a finger on what could exactly fill that role. I don't really want to be that kind of guy to say Duraludon, but like, could it be?
Okay, to be fair, I would like to see a Duraludon because I don't think we've seen... Have we seen one? I feel like we've seen one.
I think very early on we did get the Duraludon.
I think we saw one, but after that, this Pokemon just didn't exist. It's like we got a reverse extinction, you know, like all the metal type dragons got wiped off the face of the earth. I think it'll be pretty interesting. I'd love to see something brand new. I mean, Secret Ship has been the team to go to if you want something funky, if you want something new. They're the trendsetters, I suppose. Unfortunately, they're not always successful, but it is interesting to see what kind of ideas that they have. And sometimes it's like you kind of need a team to be like that to help push the meta forward, to have people discover new play styles and realize like, hey, this Pokemon doesn't have to be played in this particular role. So Secret Ship, I mean, I'm excited to see what they have. As for No Show, this team, I think at this point, they're very vanilla. We're not really seeing too much crazy stuff, but execution-wise, I think that's where they really excel.
Yeah, it was crisp, it was clean, and when it comes down to understanding what their opponents were doing. They were very much on point. The Gardevoir was very necessary when coming down to the draft, and they nailed it on the dot. So you will expect them to do somewhat similar. So when it comes down to the draft, what could shake up? Perhaps the ban. What if it goes to the Gardevoir? It could actually change the course of the story. So with that in mind, the draft should be ready. So let's take a look.
Okay, so what are the chances of No-Show maybe just banning out one of these core heroes from Secret Ship's comp? I don't... Okay, no Trev ban, I was just thinking. But Secret Ship do get rid of the Clefable. I think that was a good ban,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
This Pokemon, we've really started to see how impactful Clefable can be. It's really good in team fights. You have the AoE healing, gravity is really difficult. And I like the fact that they've actually taken away Epei's Mew, because we've seen him play this Pokemon twice. And Mew, in the right hands, is just so impactful.
True enough, and this is where it also forces you to go for something very different from No-Show. They say, you know what, you can have my Mew, I'm going to take your Trevenant away.
And
Yaku.
Mamoswine as well.
Yeah.
So this is a very frontline heavy comp from No-Show. You know what? I like the series already. Can we go? Can we hang on.
Bring all the tanky boys on board.
Production, can we make this a best of 5, please?
Okay, be careful what you wish for, because it could go on forever.
Defenders. We've got 4 defenders in one game contract. What is this madness?
And it keeps getting better and better. I'm surprised that Urshifu was passed on by Secret Ship, even though it was left available. And take a look at Lubuyan. He's thinking about it.
Really? Triple defender? Go. Do it, Secret Ship. Do it. Do it. Do it. Give me that Babuyan Blastoise.
They still need Lazy to do
Please?
his work, though.
Oh my god. My mind is blown.
And on top of it,
Contra, what's the number for the hospital? I'm feeling lightheaded here.
don't worry, I'll send you there afterward. It won't take too long. Just 10 minutes.
My gosh.
10 more minutes. So now, of course, with No-Show securing their final lock-in of their Pokemon, it's going to be Hoopa along with a Decidueye. So this is looking to be more sensible on why No-Show opts to go in for a very front-heavy lineup. And then you will create that space for this Decidueye to be able to at least slowly wither them down. And you got Epei, who's currently fielding the Urshifu. So want to see how well could they possibly do, because they've managed to decipher the second game.
Yeah.
Could they make this a grand comeback against Secret Ship?
Okay, so as excited as I am for the series, man, I am feeling dizzy. This is actually a crazy game. So, Secret Ship, they are essentially the masters of defenders. We can really see this team. They just love getting in your face, brawling, having so much health to work with. But I see a massive drawback with this comp, right? It is so brawl heavy that they have gone for no sustain. And if I'm not mistaken, Abuyan, he actually went for eject button on his Blastoise, or is a Squirtle now. So he doesn't have access to potion. They are essentially saying, we are going to win every single fight, and you're doing it up against a team that's running Hoopa. Now, Hoopa did get a buff recently with the latest patch. It's got a lot of cooldown reduction, so we are going to be starting to see this Pokemon make more appearances in the competitive scene. Hyperspace Hole is going to be a big problem for Secret Ship, because
I agree.
Because this is also going to let, firstly, No-Show's Pokemon reset, heal up, and Secret Ship are banking on their team to get knockouts. If they don't get the knockouts, they are going to lose in the sustain department.
I do look into the fact that this Hoopa can be the game-changing Pokemon for them overall, for the exact same reason that you said. Yakubari first one to be knocked out, and we're also having this Urshifu ramping up to speed. Meanwhile, topside, Easy gets a few points in. Secret Ship still keeping up with pace, but this is where we will also have to spot how much can Secret Ship do to deter them from hitting those power spikes, because it will take a while for this Decidueye to be able to be very impactful. But once you have the Hoopa to be unbound and you have this hyperspace hole, doesn't matter. You just go on for days and you can basically go for back caps, rotate the whole way around.
Exactly.
Push every part of the map possible.
There's a lot you can do with this Hoopa. Now, Yakubari, luckily, he will be able to get out. Won't be knocked out there by the Urshifu. It's so weird to see Urshifu because we just haven't seen this Pokemon at all today. But going to come back with the hyperspace hole. And yeah, I mean, this is just going to be something that Secret Ship are going to have to deal with, the resets with the hyperspace hole. Luckily, though, for Secret Ship, Obuyan, we know this guy. I don't want to gush too much, but he is a really big player on the side of Secret Ship. He's running the Blastoise. He's going to be running a lot of the damage alongside the Scyther.
Wow.
His Hydro Typhoons can be game-changing. If he lands a big Typhoon, I think it's game over for No Show. Because they're just going to get overrun. You get Scyther jumping on top of you. You have Mew that's going to be throwing out those Electro Balls and Solar Beams from downtown. So the fact that Secret Ship have just decided to go for this style of play, I mean, we're only starting to see the beginning of it.
Quite radical, right?
I don't think we see the full potential until that 6-minute mark when everyone's fully evolved and ready to go.
That's right, and that's what we're hoping to see. Secret Ship just wants a steady gameplay, and we're already seeing this. Mortado just spinning across and does not have enough damage to eventually knock them out, but NQQ as well as the Decidueye will be taking a little bit more room as the Reggie is about to spawn. Let's see what it is. Regis, that's where Secret Ship can take their sweet time, congregating, and they're looking for this pick where there's not much room for it to run, but we'll be able to eject out of the way.
And again, Hoover will just get caught there by the Scyther. So 2 knockout, that's just going to be the Urshifu. Wants to get the steal, but heavy slam. Bit too much there. So Secret Ship will successfully get the objective and the Urshifu. So far, this very hyper-aggressive, tanky lineup is working out for Secret Ship.
That's right. And meanwhile, Nojo at least responds accordingly by securing that Reggie Lecky. So they will still be able to at least make this pretty much even. Now, attention being drawn over on the top end of the spectrum, and Secret Ship will eventually give a little bit more chase, but that's not really the target that they want, though. Chris Blossom gets a little bit more of that.
He's trying to score. He gets it. He will get the score. So that's all he wanted. They had the Alecki buff on it, but unfortunately, I think they're just going to lose the Mammoth here. In the process, though, you actually have a fight there, and it looks like they're going to actually lose one on the side of Secret Ship, also one on No Show. Now the teams are looking to brawl in that top lane. Going to start with the Snorlax to push the Pokemon off the goal zone. Urshifu, just gets hit there by the Electro Ball, and even Typhoon gets thrown down as well. So Secret Ship really wanting to break that top goal zone.
Yeah, and I felt like No Show has risked themselves too much, especially when you see the Mammoth commitment. Push Blossom sees, okay, we got the Lucky, let's make good use of it. Just eject it all the way to the front, and you don't expect him to be able to survive. You don't really have the Unite move available anyways.
Yeah.
So Secret Ship took that perfect opportunity, applied enough pressure. But even so, I mean, despite all that went down for No Show, they are keeping up to speed as well. Back cap coming in, and we're already seeing that Worshipful putting in another 13.
Yeah, so Epe's just trying to get as much experience as he can, but looks like he's going to be chased down by a Booyan. And the most annoying thing, especially if you're running Urshifu against a Blastoise that's running this particular build, is that you can't really stun the Blastoise when he's spinning. He's just going to get that free damage. Yes, he will still take the damage, but you won't get that flinch, the pushback, and that's the most important thing, especially for this Urshifu, because remember, to the trainers that are just coming back to Pokemon Unite, this Pokemon got a really big nerf in the damage department and also the damage reduction department. So it's not going to be as impactful as it used to be. Again, another Reggie going in the way of Secret Ship. They're not going to fully commit to those KOs. They're just happy to take this experience and deny it from No Show.
Yeah, things are really looking very well in favor of Secret Ship. 2 Reggies in a row, and we have this Mew to also be prepared to going for the last knockout. So now Yakubari has got a lot of card control to offer, and Reggie like he's still online, and No Show still secures it in the bag with the talk. It will still go down. Doesn't really matter. The rest of Secret Ship will be able to offer plenty more, but NQQ goes rings unbound. Only Yaku left, and he's being shoved aside, and here comes Obuyan.
Oh, here we go. He's actually throwing the Hydro Typhoon down, going to throw down the spin to win as well. There's not really much that they're going to be able to do, but he won't stick around. He will unfortunately lose his companion there, but the damage has really been done. The Alecki has already been taken, and Secret Ship are just going to have to deal with this. 3.5 minutes until Rayquaza spawns. This is going to be enough time for another Hydro Typhoon to recharge. essentially now, if you're Secret Ship, you just want to get those levels. Make sure you can get all of your moves to their plus versions. Make sure they're all upgraded, and just get ready for that final fight, really.
That's right. And just look at Secret Ship. At least they knew exactly how to spread out in terms of these fights where they could basically handle each respective Pokemon from no-show one after another. Now, it's all about finding that perfect angle for no-show in order to find enough damage to be done by the Decidueye. Meanwhile, Gakugari continuously puts a little bit more of pressure where no-show, after getting the cam's like, okay, I got no more business doing here. Let's just go in for a quick reset. And Secret Ship, they take this opportunity to secure more room onto the Reggie. So he spawned up his Regirock, very valuable target, and no-show wants a piece of this.
Yeah, no-show really wants the experience and the defense buff as well. This is going to be so useful going into Rayquaza. Now, can they take it in time, though? It looks like they will get it, but the fight's going to start here on the side of Secret Ship. They say, we don't care if you have the buff. We're just going to knock all your Pokemon out. And they even got the Decidueye in the process. They're also going to lose the Airshipper here. Unfortunately, we did see some Unites getting used there, though. Scyther going to be using his first. Chobo being chased out of there by the Blastoise. And now it looks like Secret Ship, is it just going to be them to commit onto Rayquaza? They have Hydro Typhoon. Hydro Typhoon's going to be really big here. He can try and use it for that last hit, but look at this though. Hydro Typhoon gets used. Secret Ship, they do get it. The shielding's going to be there, and now what's the play? Are they going to score? Are they going to fight? Looks like they are going to commit to this fight. Their first Blossom struggling on that Mamoswine is going to try and counter score, but you know, Secret Ship, they don't care. They have the shields. They're just going to try and score, and it looks like they will break Yaku, so he's not going to be able to drop his 100 points, and they've even used Yakubari's as well. And no-show are scoring. Secret Ship, they haven't deposited their points. They do finally drop a 100-pointer. They're ahead by a tiny bit. No-show are 8 points away. They need 8 points.
And they couldn't really find that window of opportunity. Oblivion still has the shield available, but there's no room.
No, they can turn it around. They've got a minute to go. Secret Ship have to defend and make sure no-show do not score any points. No-show have no idea how close they are to actually taking this game.
And no-show will have to defend for their lives here. Secret Ship were hoping to get their very first series win. Now, 45 seconds window for them to do it. They just need 4 points.
They need someone to just run in there, throw their body, dunk 5 points. Get an insta-dunk right now. But no one's going. Everyone's got too many points. You've got 50 points on the tree. You've got 43 on the Urshifu.
They're looking for Oblivion to do it, though. But I'm not even certain if they will be able to at least get him to squeeze through. They need this fight to start right here, right now. 20 points!
They're defending. I don't think they realize how close they are to actually winning this game. Oh my goodness, Secret Ship, the mind games, they got the points!
Yes, they do!
No-show got the points!
Secret Ship, they won't be able to do that, but when you have 2 backups going on, is this going to be enough time for the Cider as well as the Solo to do it? Time's up, and we'll have to see
my gosh,
who's the one that got away with this matchup.
I think No-show did it. Did No-show do it?
Oh my word!
They did it! 6 points. That was all they needed. 6 points over to take this game from Secret Ship. What a close series, Contra.
Probably the best series that we've seen
Are you
round
crying?
to run. I'm very invested onto Secret Ship. I mean, they got that Rayquaza, but they didn't really find that golden window of opportunity.
Wow.
They did put everyone on the line in order to score from that bottom zone, but they eventually got the defense going down. No-show still have so many healthy members to counter all these offenses, and there's just no room for them to even march in. And there was so many seconds that was being bought in, and Secret Ship, they were having their leisure time, and they also open up so much more spacing down bottom, and the backcat started happening, right? We saw the Scyther just having so much room that didn't even have that timing down. So Secret Ship,
I'm too stunned to speak, Contra. I can't. I actually haven't
to
felt...
lose out on a singular digit
my gosh.
definitely would have actually made them feel some sort of way, but you really have to give it to No Show. They knew exactly what they're doing.
Look, No Show put on a show. I'm going to say that. They put on a show. They had us on the edge of their seats. I think a lot of us, especially the viewers that were watching this game, they were thinking like, it's in the bag for Secret Ship. They've got the Rayquaza. They got the objective. You know, I actually think that Secret Ship did get a little ahead of themselves when they were actually trying to score with the Rayquaza shield, right? Because we saw, I forgot who it was. Was it Yako and Yakubari? That both players ran to the bottom goal zone. I don't remember if it was Yakubari or Yako, but one of them was on there, had more shields. I think it was actually Yakubari, sorry, because he used the block. He tried to use the block to push someone from No-Show off the goal zone to let Yaku score, but Yaku's basically had no shielding, so it immediately broke when someone did some damage to him, and then Yakubari ran out of a shield, so neither Pokemon could score any points. Oh my goodness, this was just insane Contra. It was, I think this is, best game. I'm going to say it.
Best game out there. And it definitely is something that Secret Ship could be proud of as well. I mean, the way that they've committed into their usual drafting style, they have found so many windows of opportunity throughout the course of the battles, where a couple of Reggies have also been secured in hand. The final one from No Show has given them maybe a little bit more wiggle room to sustain in that battle for Rayquaza ever so slightly. But that's not really just the case.
Wow.
We see First Blossom and QQ as well as Chobo to be able to break wall them into scoring. I feel like No Show knew not only exactly what they're doing, of course they were put under pressure for most part, but they always have a plan B to find those windows to get this game back in their hands.
If anything, I want to write a letter to both of these teams and say, guys, thank you for an amazing game to end the East Asia region. This is just the first phase of the competition, guys. If anyone's, I'm not telling these guys, I'm not telling any of the players to say goodbye, but this is just an amazing way to end the East Asia region for the first phase of the competition. We're going to be seeing all of the teams play again during the second phase, but I just think, wow, what a symphony of battles, of moves. We had crazy team compositions. We had five defenders appear in the final game for East Asia. This is unheard of. This is the first game for the entirety of the Asia Champions League to actually feature this many defenders in a series.
In the series itself, and you could see the determination on this wild strategy that they had. Secret Ship pulled it off back in the very first game, and then No Show decides, you know what, we got our secret weapon to guard it for later on. But we go back into this matchup where Secret Ship, they got this one down, and like what you said, Yakubari had a lot of shield where First Blossom Chobo holds everybody down, and then this situation where Yaku, the shield depleted, and Yakubari was eventually denied, and then both of them lost their shield.
Yeah, so I think the play was that they were hoping that they could just push was it Urshifu away with the block, but he just sort of bypassed it, hit the slow bro anyway, and then after Yakubari realized like, oh wait, hang on, this isn't going to work, it didn't really matter because he had basically no shield to work with either. So it's just these minute plays. Sometimes you need to be optimal with scoring, but then at other times you kind of just have to be greedy and be like, hey, we kind of just have to score. It really doesn't matter how many points we have. So it was just, the game was tense. I don't blame the players for making whatever decision that they did. I think I would have choked if I was in their position. I would have absolutely choked. I would have thrown. I would have been KO'd for the entirety of the game. I would have been useless. These guys played amazing. Yeah,
they definitely give us one amazing series for us to close off the East Asia run for the first stage, but the week after we still have the gauntlet runs where we are getting the playoffs.
Happy.
So when we finally see the table, sure, everyone's currently into that position. Let's take a look at it right now to elaborate it even further, because we have already gotten so many things to talk about, especially High Five. They are possibly the only team across all these ACL region to go on a massive streak where they are undefeated.
Yeah, so High Five have basically guaranteed themselves a spot in the finals. That's going to be in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But they are still going to play during the second phase. And if you're wondering, hang on, if they auto-qualify, why are they playing during the second phase? Well, the 2 teams that qualify from each region still need to play a best of 3 to determine the seeding for the LAN itself. So yeah, we're still going to see High Five. We're going to see everyone here on the league table. Nobody has been eliminated yet, but eliminations start next week. So this is when things start to get really tense. And I think if you're saving strats, you got to bring them out next week. You can't save them anymore.
Exactly. Let's once again take a look at the positioning. High Five automatically received their tickets to compete in the Asia Champions League Grand Finals in Malaysia, like you said. And T2 only
Offline
needed one
finals
series
as well.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of money that has already been secured by High Five. Congratulations to them. Meanwhile, No Show will start on Turtsy
wait.
and Eternity Secret Chip.
It's not over, right? I mean, High Five may have guaranteed them. Actually, I don't think they've even guaranteed first place. They got to play the best of 3 to decide if they actually get first place or second. So it's like they've guaranteed second place prize money.
At least the ticket itself.
Exactly. But here is the playoff bracket that's going to be commencing next week. So we are going to be doing this over 2 days. We're going to be doing day 6 next week, and then day 7 will be the week after. So 2 weekends. We're going to be having some fun here. So, of course, for next week, we're going to have 2 best of 3s. The first one is going to be our 4th and 5th seeded teams. Eternity and Secret Ship will play a best of 3. Winner of this will then play No Show and another best of 3. The winner of that best of 3 will then go on to the next week to play against T2.
Big matches coming up ahead, and you definitely want to save this on your calendar, and we're definitely going to have this run live. Same time, same place. You know the drill. Watch on Twitch because you can get a lot of points for you to secure a lot of Pokemon goodies. All you have to do, if you're already on Twitch, and if you're not, please hop on board.
Yeah.
Just watch the stream and complete your registration on Stream Elements so that you can use that Twitch account to collect all those points. What you have to do with those points, you can trade it off for Pokemon TCG booster packs, the tin cans, the keychains, the folders. It's all on our screen right now, and it is amazing. And I'm just gonna flex this one once again.
Hey, just show it off. It's so good.
Galarian Birds. Like, back then, you know, I'm a Gen 1 player.
You're a Gen 1er? Okay.
I'm a Gen 1 player, and it was so difficult to land Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, and now you got this all-in-one pack. Like, be grateful, guys. This can be yours, and we also have Galarian Sylph coin.
Yes, exactly. So you've got the booster packs, we've got the tins you're seeing on the table. They're kind of chopped off, but it's fine. So we've got the dark type tin, we've got the fighting tin, and we have the fire tin. There are 3 booster packs in each of these tins, and there's also going to be a coin in the tins as well. Whether you're a collector or you actually play TCG, that's totally up to you what you want to do with the tins. We've got the keychains. Hang on, I want to hold the Tyranitar keychain.
All right.
We've got the keychains. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Maybe you can see it on this side.
I have
there.
myself Snorlax on my hand.
I got the dapper
Pikachu.
Dapper Tyranitar. I love this one.
Cinderace as well. So there's a lot of things for you guys to win. Of course, the folders that's being displayed much early on. So all those points, put it to good use because we only got a few weeks left for you guys to redeem. And if you guys want to check out on the standings and really be updated, up to speed, this is your Pokedex. Head over onto this website, 2023.pokemonunite-acl.com/yen.
Yep, and just a quick reminder as well, we're not done for the weekend either. Make sure you come back to the broadcast tomorrow because we're going to be playing the last play day for the Southeast Asia division. And I know tomorrow, if you've been following this region, there is a really, really exciting matchup coming in, and it's going to be the last one of the entirety of Southeast Asia as well. So make sure you tune into tomorrow's broadcast. We do start an hour earlier for tomorrow, but my name's been Denali. He is Contra. We've been your casters for this evening, and we will see all of you amazing trainers tomorrow for some more Pokemon Unite action.